She served the Countess for 5 years, never knowing the truth. Every kind word, every gentle touch, every lingering glance, all carried a secret that would shatter everything Anna believed about herself. When the dying Countess finally confessed, Anna faced an impossible choice: claim her birthright and destroy the only mother she never knew she had, or walk away from everything for love. Subscribe now. This story will break your heart. Rain swept across the cliffs of Kilmore as Anna stood at the window of the drawing room, watching the Atlantic waves crash against ancient rocks. Rain swept across the cliffs of Kilmore as Anna stood at the window of the drawing room, watching the Atlantic waves crash against ancient rocks. The Irish coast in autumn held a particular kind of melancholy, beautiful in its desolation, haunting in its endlessness. She'd grown accustomed to this view over 5 years of service, yet it never failed to stir something deep within her chest, something she couldn't quite name. "Anna, dear, would you fetch my shawl?" The Countess's voice drifted from her chair near the fireplace, soft as always, carrying that peculiar quality Anna had long ago identified as sadness, barely concealed. "Of course, my lady." Anna turned from the window, her simple grey dress rustling against the Persian carpet as she crossed the room. The Countess of Kilmore sat in her favourite chair, the one upholstered in deep burgundy velvet, positioned to catch both the warmth of the fire and the fading afternoon light. At 43, Lady Catherine Fitzgerald retained traces of remarkable beauty: high cheekbones, elegant posture, and eyes the exact shade of stormy grey that Anna saw in her own mirror each morning. Anna had never thought much of that coincidence. Grey eyes were common enough in Ireland. She draped the cashmere shawl around the Countess's shoulders with practiced care, her fingers barely grazing the older woman's collarbone. The Countess's hand rose as if to touch Anna's, then fell back to her lap, a gesture Anna had witnessed countless times but never understood. "Thank you," Lady Catherine whispered, and something in her voice made Anna pause. "You're always so gentle, child, so very gentle. Is there anything else you require, my lady?" "No, that is... yes. Stay a moment, sit with me." The Countess gestured to the footstool beside her chair. "Tell me, are you content here at Kilmore?" "Truly content?" Anna lowered herself onto the footstool, smoothing her skirts. The question unsettled her. In 5 years of service, the Countess had been unfailingly kind, kinder than any employer had right to be to a dama de compagnia without family or fortune. But she'd never asked such a personal question. "I am grateful for your kindness, my lady. You've given me a home when I had none. That's not what I asked." Lady Catherine's fingers twisted in the fringe of her shawl. "Are you happy, Anna?" Happy. The word seemed foreign in this house of whispers and shadows, this decaying estate perched on the edge of Ireland, where the wind never stopped mourning and the rain never stopped falling. Anna had been raised at St. Brigid's Orphanage in Dublin, taught that happiness was a luxury for those with birthright and dowry. Contentment, survival, gratitude, these were the portions allotted to girls like her. "I have everything I need," Anna replied carefully. The Countess's expression crumpled for just a moment before she mastered it. "That's not the same thing at all." Before Anna could respond, the drawing-room door opened, admitting Mrs. Brennan, the housekeeper, whose severe countenance and starched black bombazine seemed designed to discourage both familiarity and joy. "Pardon the interruption, my lady, but the new tutor has arrived. Shall I show him to the library, or would you prefer to receive him here?" "The library will do, Mrs. Brennan. I'll join him shortly." The Countess straightened in her chair, and the moment of vulnerability vanished behind aristocratic composure. "Anna, would you accompany me? I'd value your opinion of the young man." Anna rose, surprised. The Countess rarely solicited her opinion on household matters. "As you wish, my lady." They made their way through Kilmore House's dim corridors, past portraits of Fitzgerald ancestors, whose painted eyes seemed to judge the present generation and find it wanting. The estate had been magnificent once. Anna had heard the servants speak of it. But that was before the famine, before the Countess's husband died, before whatever accumulated sorrows had turned this place into a monument to slow decay. The library smelled of leather, dust, and the particular mustiness of books unloved for too long. Tall windows overlooked the gardens, where overgrown roses tangled with weeds and stone pathways disappeared beneath moss. A man stood before these windows, his back to them, his posture suggesting he'd been studying the desolation outside. He turned as they entered. Anna's breath caught. He was perhaps 30, tall and lean, with dark hair slightly dishevelled from travel, and eyes the colour of polished mahogany. His clothing marked him as educated but not wealthy, a gentleman's son, perhaps, but one who must work for his living. There was something in his face that struck her immediately, an openness, an honesty, as if he hadn't yet learned to hide himself behind the masks that society demanded. Lady Kilmore. He bowed with perfect correctness. Thomas Ashford, at your service. I'm honoured you've entrusted me with your nephew's education, Mr. Ashford. The Countess inclined her head. I trust your journey from Dublin was not too arduous. The roads were manageable, though the rain made for slow progress. His gaze shifted to Anna, and she felt the weight of genuine curiosity rather than the dismissive glance servants typically received. Forgive me. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Miss Anna Byrne, my companion, the Countess said, and Anna detected a tremor in her voice that hadn't been there moments before. She assists me in all household matters. Miss Byrne. Thomas bowed to her as he had to the Countess, a gesture of respect that startled Anna. Men of his position rarely acknowledged women of hers with such courtesy. Mr. Ashford, she replied, returning a small curtsy, acutely aware of his continued attention. Mr. Ashford comes highly recommended, the Countess continued, moving to sit in one of the library's worn leather chairs. He studied at Trinity College and has particular expertise in classical languages and mathematics. My nephews are spirited boys. They've driven away 3 tutors in as many years. Thomas smiled, and the expression transformed his serious face into something warm and approachable. I assure you, Lady Kilmore, I've dealt with far more challenging students. Boys of that age require patience, consistency, and genuine engagement with their interests. Treat them as thinking beings rather than vessels to be filled with information, and they generally respond well. A progressive philosophy, the Countess observed. An effective one, in my experience. They discussed the particulars of his position, salary, accommodations, curriculum expectations, while Anna stood quietly by the window, her role to observe rather than participate. Yet she found her attention drifting from the conversation to the man himself. There was something compelling about Thomas Ashford, something beyond his presentable appearance. He spoke with conviction, but without arrogance, met the Countess's eyes directly, but without presumption. And twice during the interview his gaze found Anna's, lingering for just a moment, before returning to his employer. Mrs. Brennan will show you to your rooms, the Countess concluded. You'll meet the boys at breakfast tomorrow. They're currently out riding with their father. My brother-in-law, Lord Edmund Fitzgerald, manages the estate in my late husband's stead. I look forward to it, my lady. Thomas bowed again, then turned to Anna. Miss Byrne, it was a pleasure to meet you. And you, Mr. Ashford. After he departed, the Countess remained seated, her fingers drumming against the chair's armrest, an unusual display of agitation. He seems competent, Anna offered. Yes. Lady Catherine's voice was distant, competent and kind. That's a dangerous combination in this house, Anna. Kindness has a way of revealing truths that should remain buried. Anna wanted to ask what she meant, but the Countess rose abruptly, swaying slightly. Anna rushed to steady her. My lady, are you unwell? Just tired. These autumn days drain me so. The Countess leaned on Anna's arm as they left the library. Will you read to me this evening? I find your voice soothing. Of course. That night, as Anna sat beside the Countess's bed reading from Tennyson's poems, she noticed tears sliding down Lady Catherine's face. The older woman made no sound, no attempt to hide or wipe them away. She simply wept in silence, while Anna read of love and loss, and the terrible beauty of things that can never be reclaimed. When Anna paused, uncertain whether to continue, the Countess reached out and took her hand. Forgive me, Lady Catherine whispered. I'm a foolish old woman with too many regrets. You're neither old nor foolish, my lady. You're kind to say so. The Countess's grip tightened. Tell me, Anna, If you discovered that your entire life had been built on a lie, that the people you trusted had deceived you from the very beginning, could you find it in your heart to forgive them? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning Anna couldn't decipher. I suppose it would depend on why they lied, Anna said carefully, whether the deception came from malice or from love. Love. The Countess released Anna's hand and turned her face to the wall. Yes. That's the cruelest deception of all, isn't it? When love itself becomes the lie we tell. Anna had no response to that. She continued reading until the Countess's breathing deepened into sleep, then quietly extinguished the lamp and left the room. In the corridor she nearly collided with someone. "Miss Byrne, forgive me." Thomas Ashford steadied her with a gentle hand on her elbow. "I was attempting to find my way back to my quarters and appear to have gotten thoroughly lost in this labyrinth." "It takes time to learn the house," Anna said, acutely aware that he hadn't yet released her arm. "The West Wing is back this way. Would you mind showing me?" "I'd hate to wake the household by blundering about in the dark." They walked in silence for a moment, the only sounds their footsteps on the marble floor and the eternal wind howling around the eaves. "This is a strange house," Thomas said finally. "Beautiful, but strange. There's a sadness to it. The Countess has known great sorrow. And you, Miss Byrne? Have you known it as well?" The question was too personal, too direct, yet Anna found herself answering honestly. "I was raised in an orphanage, Mr. Ashford. I know nothing but sorrow punctuated by occasional kindness. Then we have something in common. I'm a second son, functionally invisible to my family unless they require someone to manage their embarrassments or clean up their mistakes. We're both dependents, aren't we? Educated enough to be useful but not positioned to ever truly belong." Anna stopped walking, struck by the accuracy of his observation. In the dim light of the corridor's wall sconces, Thomas's face showed genuine understanding rather than pity. "Your quarters are just there," she said, pointing to a door at the corridor's end. "Breakfast is at 7. Mrs. Brennan doesn't tolerate lateness." "Thank you." He didn't move. "Miss Byrne, I hope we might become friends. I find myself in need of allies in unfamiliar territory. I'm a companion, Mr. Ashford, not—" "You're a person," he interrupted gently. "As am I. Surely that's enough foundation for friendship." No one had ever spoken to Anna this way before. No one had ever suggested she was anything more than her position, her usefulness, her function. "Perhaps," she managed. "I'll take perhaps." He smiled. "Good night, Miss Byrne." "Good night, Mr. Ashford." Anna returned to her own small room in the servants' quarters, her mind churning with the day's strangeness. The Countess's peculiar questions, Thomas Ashford's unexpected kindness, the feeling that something was shifting beneath the surface of Kilmore House, like ice beginning to crack over deep water. She prepared for bed, braiding her dark hair and changing into her nightgown. In the small mirror above her washstand, she studied her reflection. Grey eyes, unremarkable features, the face of someone designed to blend into the background of other people's lives. But tonight, for the first time in her 23 years, Anna wondered if there might be more to her story than she'd been told. If the woman who wept while poetry was read might hold answers to questions Anna had never known to ask. Outside, the rain intensified, and somewhere in the house a door slammed with the force of wind or intention. Anna climbed into bed and pulled the thin blanket to her chin, listening to the storm. Tomorrow, she would return to her duties. Tomorrow everything would be as it always was. But tonight something had changed. Tonight she had felt seen. The following morning arrived with the kind of pale, watery sunlight that passed for brightness on the Irish coast. Anna woke before dawn, as she always did, and dressed quickly in the chill of her small room. The servants' quarters were unheated, and frost had formed delicate patterns on the inside of her window during the night. She made her way through the still sleeping house to the Countess's chambers, carrying the breakfast tray Mrs. Brennan had prepared, weak tea, dry toast, and a single poached egg that Lady Catherine would barely touch. The Countess's appetite had been diminishing for months, though she insisted it was merely the dampness affecting her constitution. Anna knocked softly before entering. "Come in, dear." The Countess's voice was hoarse, as it often was in the mornings. She sat propped against pillows, her nightcap slightly askew, her face pale against the white linens. "You're earlier than usual. I thought you might appreciate the company, my lady." Anna set the tray on the bedside table and began opening the heavy curtains. Grey light filtered through, revealing the room's faded grandeur, wallpaper peeling in the corners, a massive wardrobe whose gilding had tarnished, portraits of long-dead Fitzgeralds watching from the walls. "You're thoughtful." The Countess reached for the tea with trembling hands. Anna moved to assist her, wrapping her own fingers around the Countess's to steady the cup. Lady Catherine's hands were cold as marble. "My lady, should I send for Dr. Morrison? Your hands are freezing." "No, no doctors." The response was sharp. "I'm simply tired. I didn't sleep well. Bad dreams. Memories." The Countess sipped her tea, grimacing slightly. Sometimes they're the same thing. They fell into their morning routine. Anna helped the Countess wash and dress, selecting a gown of deep plum silk that had been fashionable a decade ago, but remained elegant. As Anna arranged Lady Catherine's hair, still thick and dark, barely touched by grey, she caught the older woman watching her in the mirror with that same inexplicable sadness. "You have gentle hands," the Countess murmured. "Your mother must have been a gentle woman." Anna's fingers paused in their work. "I wouldn't know, my lady. I was left at St. Brigid's as an infant. The sisters told me my mother never gave a name. How terrible for you. To never know where you came from. I've made my peace with it." Anna secured the final pin in the Countess's elaborate coiffure. "We can't miss what we never had, can't we?" Lady Catherine turned to face her directly, and Anna was startled to see tears gathering in those grey eyes, eyes so like her own. "I wonder about that, Anna. I wonder if we don't spend our entire lives mourning the things we were denied from the very beginning." Before Anna could respond, a commotion erupted from the corridor, the thunder of small feet, boyish laughter, and then a crash followed by Mrs. Brennan's scandalized shriek. "The boys," the Countess sighed, rising from her chair. "Edmund must have returned with them early from their father's estate. Come, Anna, let's rescue Mr. Ashford from his first encounter with his pupils." They found chaos in the breakfast room. Two boys, twins of perhaps 10 years old with wild red hair and mischievous green eyes, had apparently attempted to recreate some sort of military battle using the breakfast sideboard as a fortress. Kippers and kidneys lay scattered across the floor. A footman stood frozen in horror, a silver serving dish tilted precariously in his hands. And in the midst of it all stood Thomas Ashford, arms crossed, surveying the destruction with an expression of mild amusement rather than anger. "Gentlemen," he said calmly, "I believe you've successfully demonstrated your understanding of tactical warfare. However, I must point out that Napoleon himself would never have wasted perfectly good provisions in such a manner. Food is fuel for soldiers. Shall we discuss how empires are won and lost based on supply lines? Or would you prefer to explain to Mrs. Brennan why she must now prepare an entirely new breakfast?" The boys froze, clearly expecting fury, but receiving instead intellectual engagement. The slightly taller one, Patrick, Anna recalled, lowered his makeshift sword, actually a serving spoon. "You know about Napoleon. I know about many things that might interest you, but first, I believe apologies are in order. To Mrs. Brennan, to your aunt, and to Miss Byrne, all of whom you've inconvenienced with your theatrical performance." Both boys turned to find the Countess and Anna in the doorway. To Anna's surprise, they immediately looked shamefaced. "Sorry, Aunt Catherine," they chorused. "Sorry, Mrs. Brennan," added Michael, the younger twin by 7 minutes. "And Miss Byrne," Thomas prompted gently. "Sorry, Miss Byrne." Anna suppressed a smile. "Apology accepted, gentlemen. Though I do suggest you help clean up before your father discovers what you've done." "Father's still in Dublin," Patrick announced. "Business in Parliament. He'll be gone at least another week." "Which means," Thomas interjected smoothly, "that you have 7 days to prove you can be trusted without his supervision. Shall we begin with breakfast, what remains of it, and then proceed to the schoolroom? I've brought some fascinating maps showing Napoleon's Russian campaign. The logistical challenges alone are worth studying." The boys' eyes lit up. Within minutes, Thomas had them seated at the table, eating properly, listening raptly as he described the French army's disastrous retreat from Moscow. Anna watched, impressed despite herself. 3 previous tutors had quit within weeks. Thomas Ashford had gained control within minutes, not through discipline, but through genuine interest in his students. The Countess touched Anna's arm. "Walk with me in the garden," she said quietly. "I find I need air." They left Thomas with the boys and made their way through the house to the conservatory doors. The gardens at Kilmore had once been magnificent. Italian terraces, rose arbors, a hedge maze planted in the previous century. Now they were romantic ruins, beautiful in their decay, with statuary emerging from overgrown ivy and fountains long since gone dry. The Countess walked slowly, leaning on Anna's arm. Her breathing was labored, and Anna noticed a persistent cough that hadn't been there at summer's start. "My lady, you really should see Dr. Morrison. Doctors can't cure what ails me, child." They stopped beside a marble fountain where a stone cherub poured nothing into a basin filled with fallen leaves. "Tell me, what do you think of our new tutor?" Anna chose her words carefully. "He seems capable." The boys responded well to him. "That's not what I asked." The Countess's gaze was piercing. "What do you think of him as a man?" Heat rose to Anna's cheeks. I've barely spoken to him, my lady. I have no opinion beyond his professional competence." "You're a terrible liar, Anna. Your face betrays you." Lady Catherine's expression softened. "I saw how he looked at you, how you looked at him. These things are dangerous in a household like this. Nothing improper has occurred, I know that. But feelings don't require impropriety to exist. They don't require permission or sense or circumstance." The Countess turned to face the house, its grey stone facade imposing against the clouded sky. "I fell in love once with someone I shouldn't have, someone whose position made any acknowledgement of feeling impossible. Do you know what that's like, Anna? To love from a distance you can never cross." Anna thought of her own isolation, her years of careful observation from the edges of other people's lives. "Perhaps I do, my lady." "Then be careful. Guard your heart. Men like Mr. Ashford, kind, decent men, are the most dangerous of all because they make us hope for things that can never be." They returned to the house in silence. The Countess retired to her chambers with a headache, leaving Anna to her usual duties. Correspondence, household accounts, supervising the maids as they changed linens. It was mindless work, and Anna's thoughts drifted repeatedly to the breakfast room, to dark eyes that had looked at her as if she mattered. Late in the afternoon she carried books to the library to return them to their shelves. She didn't expect to find anyone there. The room was rarely used except during her reading sessions with the Countess, but Thomas Ashford sat at the massive oak table, surrounded by papers and books, apparently preparing lessons for his students. He looked up as she entered, and his face brightened in a way that made her pulse quicken. "Miss Byrne, I was hoping to run into you. I'm simply returning books, Mr. Ashford. I don't wish to disturb your work. You're not disturbing anything. In fact, I could use your help if you're willing." He gestured to the papers before him. "I'm trying to create a reading list for the boys, something that might actually engage them rather than bore them into rebellion. You seem well read. What would you suggest?" Anna approached the table slowly. It was improper to be alone with him like this, but the house was full of servants, and the library door stood open. "What have you considered so far? Scott's novels, perhaps. Ivanhoe might appeal to their love of combat and adventure, some Greek mythology, the Iliad in simplified form. But I'm concerned it's all too martial, too focused on battle and conquest." "What about Robinson Crusoe?" Anna suggested, surprising herself by sitting across from him. "It has adventure, but also themes of survival, ingenuity, self-reliance. Or Gulliver's Travels. The political satire would go over their heads, but the fantastic elements might capture their imagination." Thomas's expression transformed into genuine delight. "Brilliant. Both excellent choices." He began writing rapidly. "What else? You clearly have opinions on literature." "The boys are Irish," Anna said, warming to the subject despite herself. "Perhaps some Irish legends. The stories of Cuchulainn, Fionn MacCumhaill. They should know their own heritage." "You're absolutely right." Thomas stopped writing and looked at her directly. "Most tutors would suggest entirely English texts. You think differently. I am Irish, Mr. Ashford. So are those boys. despite their Anglo blood. They live on this land. They should understand it. You're passionate about this. Education should mean something. It shouldn't just be about stuffing young minds with facts and dates and proper English pronunciation. It should help them understand who they are and where they belong. Thomas set down his pen, leaning back in his chair. May I ask you something personal, Miss Byrne? Anna stiffened. That depends on the question. How did you become so well educated? Forgive me if the question is impertinent, but most women in your position, companion to a countess raised in an orphanage, wouldn't have access to the breadth of literature you clearly possess. It was a fair question. Anna had wondered the same thing herself. The sisters at St. Brigid's were unusually invested in my education. They taught me to read very young, gave me access to their library. When I left at 16 to seek employment, I was better educated than many governesses. I never understood why they singled me out, but I was grateful for it. Perhaps they recognized something special in you, or perhaps they were simply kind. Anna stood abruptly, uncomfortable with the intimacy the conversation had assumed. I should return to my duties. Wait. Thomas stood as well. Forgive me if I've made you uncomfortable. That wasn't my intention. I only meant to say that I find your company refreshing. Most people in houses like this speak in careful nothings, saying much while revealing little. You're different. Different isn't always an advantage, Mr. Ashford. It is to me. They stood on opposite sides of the table, and the space between them felt charged with something Anna had no name for. In the golden afternoon light filtering through the tall windows, with dust motes dancing in the air, Thomas Ashford looked at her as no one ever had, as if she were someone worth knowing, worth talking to, worth more than her function. I should go, Anna repeated, but her feet didn't move. Of course. Thank you for your help with the reading list. You're welcome. She forced herself to turn away, to walk toward the door. She'd almost reached it when Thomas spoke again. Miss Byrne, would you perhaps join me for a walk tomorrow? After the boys' lessons conclude, I'd like to explore the grounds and I suspect you know them well. Anna should say no. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, to maintain the proper distance between their positions. But when she turned back, when she saw the hope in his face, the words that emerged were different from the ones she'd intended. The cliffs are beautiful at sunset. If the weather holds, I could show you the path. His smile was like sunrise. I'll look forward to it. Anna left the library with her heart racing. As she hurried through the corridors back to the Countess's chambers, she passed a tall mirror and caught her own reflection. Flushed cheeks, bright eyes, a smile she couldn't quite suppress. She looked for the first time in her memory happy, and that terrified her more than anything else. The Countess was awake when Anna entered, sitting by her window, staring out at the darkening sky. She didn't turn when Anna approached. Did you find what you were looking for in the library? Lady Catherine asked. I was only returning books, my lady. Yes, of course. The Countess's voice was hollow. We always tell ourselves we're only doing one thing when we're truly doing another, don't we, Anna? We're very good at lying to ourselves about what we want and why we want it. Anna had no response to that. She began preparing the Countess for dinner, but Lady Catherine caught her hand. Be careful, child. I'm watching you walk into the same heartbreak I did, and there's nothing I can do to protect you from it. My lady, I don't understand. You will. The Countess released her hand and turned back to the window. God help us both, you will. That night, Anna lay in her narrow bed, unable to sleep. Tomorrow she would walk with Thomas Ashford along the cliffs. Tomorrow she would allow herself a few hours of feeling like someone other than a servant, other than an orphan, other than a woman with no past and no future. Tomorrow she would be happy, and in her chambers above, the Countess wept into her pillows, mourning the daughter she could never claim and the heartbreak she couldn't prevent, watching history prepare to repeat itself in the cruelest possible way. Outside, the wind rose, carrying with it the salt spray of the Atlantic and the promise of storms to come. The weather held. Anna told herself it meant nothing. The Irish coast was capricious, and a clear evening was merely meteorological chance, not fate conspiring to facilitate something foolish. Yet as she finished her afternoon duties and changed into her second-best dress, the dove grey one with modest lace at the collar, she couldn't deny the anticipation thrumming through her veins. Thomas was waiting by the conservatory doors, wearing a walking coat and carrying 2 woolen scarves. "I thought you might need this," he said, offering one to her. "Mrs. Brennan warned me the cliffs can be quite cold, even on fair days." That was thoughtful. Anna accepted the scarf, acutely aware of how their fingers brushed during the exchange. The path begins just beyond the rose garden. It's about a mile to the best vantage point. They set out across the grounds, walking side by side, but maintaining a careful distance. The autumn sun hung low in the western sky, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. The overgrown gardens took on an ethereal quality in this light, less abandoned, more enchanted. "How long have you been with the Countess?" Thomas asked as they navigated around a toppled statue of Diana. 5 years this October. She hired me shortly after I left St. Bridget's. That must have been quite a change. From orphanage to aristocratic household." Anna smiled faintly. "Less dramatic than you might imagine. Both places are governed by strict rules and hierarchies. Both require one to know their place and stay in it. Yet you don't seem like someone content to simply stay in their place. Content and resigned aren't the same thing, Mr. Ashford." "Thomas," he said quietly, "when we're away from the house, away from servants and propriety, could you call me Thomas?" The request was dangerous, intimate. Anna knew she should refuse. "Only if you call me Anna." "Anna." He said her name as if testing its weight, its flavor. "It suits you. Simple, honest, beautiful in its plainness." Heat rose to her cheeks. "I'm hardly beautiful. I disagree entirely, but I won't argue the point. Tell me instead about the Countess. She seems sad, haunted even." They had reached the edge of the formal gardens, where a narrow path disappeared into tall grass and heather. Anna led the way, grateful for the excuse to walk ahead so Thomas couldn't see her face. She lost her husband 7 years ago. Lord Kilmore was much older than her. The marriage was arranged when she was very young. They had no children, which I believe pains her greatly, and her brother-in-law manages the estate, Lord Edmund. He lives primarily in Dublin, but visits periodically to oversee the property and check on his sons. He's not a warm man. I gathered as much from the boys' descriptions. They seem rather afraid of him." The path narrowed further, forcing them to walk single file. The grass whispered around them, and overhead seabirds wheeled and cried. The sound of waves grew louder as they climbed a gentle slope. "There," Anna said, emerging onto a promontory of dark stone. "This is my favorite place on the entire estate." The view was breathtaking. The Atlantic stretched endlessly before them, its surface transformed by the setting sun into molten copper. Below, waves crashed against black rocks, sending up plumes of white spray. To the north, the coastline curved away in a series of dramatic cliffs, while to the south, a small beach of dark sand nestled between stone walls. "My God," Thomas breathed. "It's magnificent. I come here when I need to think, or when the house becomes too oppressive." "Does it often feel that way? Oppressive?" Anna considered the question. "Sometimes. There are secrets in that house, Thomas. I can feel them in the walls, in the way the Countess looks at me sometimes, as if she wants to tell me something but can't, in the way she touches my hand and pulls away as if burned, in the questions she asks that I don't know how to answer." Thomas moved to stand beside her at the cliff's edge. "What sort of questions?" "Yesterday morning she asked if I could forgive someone who'd lied to me my entire life. She asks about my contentment, my happiness, as if the answer matters deeply to her. She watches me constantly when she thinks I'm not aware of it." Anna wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the scarf. "I sound foolish. She's simply a lonely woman being kind to her companion." "You don't sound foolish, you sound perceptive." Thomas was quiet for a moment, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. "My father used to tell me that aristocratic households are built on secrets. Every grand estate, every titled family, they all have something buried that they'd rather not examine too closely. Perhaps the Countess has her share of buried things. Don't we all? Do you? Have secrets, I mean." Anna laughed, but it came out bitter. I'm a woman with no family, no fortune, no prospects beyond remaining useful to someone else until I'm too old to be useful at all. What secrets could I possibly have? The secret of who you might have been, who you still could be. Thomas turned to face her fully. Anna, you're the most intelligent, well-read woman I've encountered in years. You think deeply, speak honestly, and have more natural dignity than most of the titled ladies I've met. Yet you speak of yourself as if you're nothing. Because I am nothing. That's not self-pity, Thomas, it's simple fact. I have no identity beyond what others have given me. Orphan, servant, companion. Even my name might not be my own. It's what the sisters chose for me. Then choose yourself. Decide who Anna Byrne is, regardless of circumstance. That's a luxury for people with choices. People with futures. Everyone has a future. It just might not look like what society says it should. They stood in silence, watching the sun complete its descent. The sky blazed with impossible colors, crimson, violet, gold, before beginning its fade to twilight. Hannah was painfully aware of Thomas's proximity, of the warmth radiating from his body despite the cool evening air. "May I ask you something?" she said finally. "Anything. Why are you here? A man with your education, your obvious intelligence. You could be teaching at a university, working as a solicitor, pursuing a dozen other careers. Why tutor two wild boys in a decaying Irish estate?" Thomas was quiet so long that Anna thought he might not answer. When he spoke, his voice was low, almost lost beneath the crash of waves below. "Because I'm running away. Not from scandal or debt or anything so dramatic, just from expectations. From being my father's spare heir, my mother's disappointment, my older brother's inferior shadow. From London society and its suffocating rules about who I should be and who I should marry, and what I should want from life." "And what do you want from life?" He turned to look at her, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. "I want to matter to someone, not because of my name or connections or potential usefulness, but because of who I actually am. I want to have conversations that mean something. I want to wake up knowing that what I do that day will make some small difference, even if it's just helping two young boys learn to think for themselves." He paused. "And I want to stop feeling so utterly alone, even when I'm surrounded by people." Anna understood that loneliness. She'd lived in it her entire life. "I should tell you something," Thomas continued, his voice rougher now. "I know this is improper. I know we've only just met. But I need you to understand that when I asked you to walk with me, it wasn't merely to explore the grounds or make polite conversation. I asked because I can't seem to stop thinking about you. Because when you entered that library yesterday, the entire room became brighter. Because you make me feel less alone. Thomas, let me finish. Please." He took a breath. "I have no right to feel this way. You're under the Countess's protection, and I'm employed by her family. Any attachment between us would be scandal. It could cost you your position, your home, everything. I know all of that. But I also know that I've never met anyone like you, and I don't want to pretend I haven't." Anna's heart was racing so fast she felt dizzy. "What are you asking me? I'm asking if you feel it too, this connection, or if I'm alone in this madness." She should lie. She should protect them both by denying everything, by maintaining the careful distance that would keep them safe. But standing on that cliff, with the last light dying in the western sky and the wind carrying the taste of salt and possibility, Anna found she couldn't. "You're not alone," she whispered. Thomas's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. It was the first time anyone had held her hand with tenderness rather than assistance, with desire rather than duty. His thumb traced circles on her palm, and the simple touch sent electricity through her entire body. "What do we do?" he asked. "I don't know. Nothing about this is wise or safe or... Do you care?" Anna looked up at him, at this man who saw her as something more than her circumstances, and knew her answer with terrifying certainty. "No, I don't care at all." He leaned down, slowly enough that she could pull away if she wanted. She didn't want. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a question asked and answered. The kiss deepened, and Anna felt something inside her crack open, some protective wall she'd built around her heart to survive the loneliness of her existence. When they finally pulled apart, twilight had fallen completely. Stars were beginning to emerge overhead, and the lighthouse miles down the coast had begun its nightly rotation. "We should return," Anna said, though she didn't move. "They'll notice our absence." "Let them notice. Thomas, we have to be careful. If Lord Edmund discovers—" "I know. You're right." He released her hand reluctantly. "But Anna, I need you to understand something. I won't pretend this didn't happen. I won't pretend you're just the Countess's companion and nothing more. Even if we must be discreet, even if we can only steal moments like this, I won't deny what I feel. Neither will I." They walked back through the darkening grounds, maintaining proper distance now, their hands carefully not touching. But everything had changed. The air between them hummed with new awareness, with promises unspoken but deeply felt. As they approached the house, a figure detached from the shadows near the conservatory. Lord Edmund Fitzgerald. Anna's blood ran cold. He was supposed to be in Dublin for another week. Edmund was a tall man, lean and severe, with the Fitzgerald grey eyes and an expression of perpetual displeasure. He watched them approach with cold calculation. "Mr. Ashford, Miss Byrne. Rather late for a constitutional walk, isn't it?" "Lord Edmund." Thomas bowed. "I wasn't aware you'd returned." "I was merely touring the estate grounds. Miss Byrne was kind enough to show me the coastal path. How very kind of her." Edmund's gaze fixed on Anna, and she felt exposed, as if he could see the kiss still burning on her lips. "My sister-in-law has been asking for you, Miss Byrne. She's taken ill and requires your assistance." "Of course, my lord, I'll attend her immediately." Anna curtsied and fled toward the house, her heart pounding. She didn't look back, but she felt Edmund's eyes on her like ice water. The Countess's chambers were dark except for a single candle by the bedside. Lady Catherine lay against the pillows, her breathing laboured, her skin paper white. "My lady." Anna rushed to her side. "Should I send for Dr. Morrison?" "No doctors." The Countess caught Anna's hand with surprising strength. "Edmund is back. Did you see him?" "Yes, my lady. He saw me with Mr. Ashford. We were only walking, but Edmund sees everything and forgets nothing." Lady Catherine's grip tightened. "Anna, listen to me. You must be careful. My brother-in-law is not a kind man. He has plans for this estate, for the family fortune, and he won't tolerate anything that threatens those plans. I don't understand how my walking with a tutor could possibly threaten. You don't understand anything yet. But you will." A coughing fit seized the Countess, violent and prolonged. When it passed, there was blood on the handkerchief she pressed to her lips. Anna stared at the crimson stain in horror. "My lady, you must see a doctor. This is serious. I know what it is." Lady Catherine closed her eyes. "I've known for months. Consumption, Anna. The same thing that killed my mother and my grandmother. It runs in families, they say, in blood. All the more reason to seek treatment. There is no treatment. Only time, and I suspect I have less of it than anyone knows." She opened her eyes and they were filled with tears. "That's why I must tell you, before Edmund does, before you discover it in some terrible way that breaks you." "Tell me what?" The Countess pulled Anna down to sit on the bed beside her, still gripping her hand. "Anna, do you know why I hired you? Out of all the young women seeking positions, why I chose an orphan from St. Bridget's with no references, no connections? You said my letter of application showed intelligence and character. That was true, but it wasn't the reason." Lady Catherine's tears spilled over. "I chose you because I had been waiting for you, because I had been paying the sisters at St. Bridget's for 23 years to care for you, to educate you, to prepare you for the day when I could finally bring you here." The room seemed to tilt. Anna's voice came out as barely a whisper. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I know exactly who you are, Anna Byrne. I know because I held you the day you were born, because I counted your fingers and toes and memorized every feature of your face before they took you away, because I've spent every single day since then wondering if you were safe, if you were happy, if you would ever forgive me. No. Anna tried to pull away, but the Countess held fast. You are my daughter, Anna. My child. The only child I'll ever have. And I have loved you every moment of your life, even when I couldn't claim you, even when I had to watch you from afar, even when it tore my heart to pieces to pretend you were nothing more than my employee. Anna couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world had fractured into pieces that no longer fit together. That's impossible. You were married to Lord Kilmore. If you'd had a child, he wasn't your father. The Countess's voice broke. I had an affair, Anna. A brief, reckless affair with a man I loved desperately but could never marry. When I discovered I was with child, I knew it would destroy everything. My marriage, my family's reputation, the man I loved. So I hid it. I went to the country, claimed illness, and when you were born, I gave you to the sisters with enough money to ensure you'd be cared for. I told my husband the baby was stillborn. I lied to everyone. Why? Anna heard herself asking through the roaring in her ears. Why are you telling me this now? Because Edmund found letters, old letters from the sisters updating me on your progress over the years. He's been in my late husband's study, going through everything, preparing to take control of the estate when I die. And he found them. Horror washed over Anna in waves. He knows, he suspects. But he doesn't know which servant you are yet. There were several young women hired around the same time, but he's watching everyone now, questioning the staff, comparing ages. Lady Catherine's breathing had become ragged. Anna, if he confirms his suspicions, if he can prove you're my illegitimate daughter, he'll use it to destroy what little remains of this family's reputation. He'll say I've been planning to leave you part of the estate, which I have, and he'll fight it in courts. His sons are the legitimate heirs. You're just a bastard who shouldn't exist. Anna stood abruptly, needing distance, needing air. This is insane. This can't be real. I'm dying, Anna. I have months at most. I wanted to tell you before it was too late. Before Edmund could twist it into something ugly. I wanted you to hear it from me, to know that you were wanted, that you were loved. Even if I couldn't give you the life you deserved. Loved? Anna's voice rose, nearly hysterical. You call abandoning a baby to an orphanage love? You call lying for 23 years love? You call watching me serve you tea and arrange your hair and read you poetry while knowing I was your daughter? You call that love? It was all I could give you. It was nothing. You gave me nothing except questions and confusion and... Anna broke off, pressing her hands to her face. Who was he? My father. I can't tell you that. Not yet. Not while he's still alive and the knowledge could hurt him. Of course. More secrets. More lies. Anna moved toward the door. I can't be here. I can't. Anna, please, don't call me that. I don't know who I am anymore. She fled the room, tears blinding her. She ran through the corridors, not caring who saw, not caring about propriety or position or anything, except escaping the suffocating weight of revelation. She found herself in the library, gasping for breath, the world spinning. This couldn't be real. The Countess couldn't be her mother. She couldn't be the illegitimate daughter of an aristocrat, couldn't be the secret that Edmund Fitzgerald was hunting, couldn't be anything except what she'd always been. Nobody, nothing, unwanted. Except she was wanted. That was somehow worse. All those years at St. Bridget's, wondering why she'd been abandoned, why her mother hadn't loved her enough to keep her, and all along she'd been watched, paid for, monitored like a possession too shameful to claim. Anna sank into a chair, her entire body shaking. A soft knock at the door. Then Thomas's voice. Anna, I saw you run past. What's happened? She couldn't answer, couldn't explain, couldn't even look at him. He crossed the room and knelt beside her chair, taking her cold hands in his warm ones. Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone. But that was exactly wrong. She was more alone now than ever, trapped in a web of lies and blood and secrets that had been woven around her before she'd even learned to speak. And somewhere in the house above, Edmund Fitzgerald was searching through letters, piecing together a truth that would destroy them all. Anna didn't sleep that night. She lay in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift as clouds passed across the moon. Every certainty she'd built her life upon had crumbled in the span of a single conversation. The Countess was her mother. She was not an orphan abandoned by strangers, but a bastard hidden by family. Every kindness Lady Catherine had shown her, every gentle touch, every concerned glance, every question about her happiness, had been tainted by guilt and secrecy. And Thomas, God help her, Thomas, she'd kissed him on the cliffs, had allowed herself to feel something real and true for the first time in her life. But what was she now? The illegitimate daughter of the woman who employed him. A scandal waiting to explode, a liability that could destroy his position, his reputation, his future. She rose before dawn, dressed mechanically, and went about her duties like an automaton. When she brought the Countess's breakfast tray, Lady Catherine was already awake, sitting by the window with red-rimmed eyes. "Anna, what would you like to wear today, my lady?" Anna's voice was flat, emotionless. "The green wool or the burgundy silk?" "Please, we must talk about, I believe the burgundy would be suitable. The household accounts also require your review, and Mrs. Brennan has questions about the menu for next week's dinner." Anna moved through the room with mechanical efficiency, opening curtains, arranging the breakfast tray, refusing to meet the Countess's gaze. "Anna, I know you're angry, but you must understand. I understand perfectly." Anna finally looked at her, at this woman who was a stranger and a mother simultaneously. "You made choices, you lived with them. Now I must do the same. What does that mean?" "It means I haven't decided yet whether to stay or leave. Whether to keep your secret or expose it. Whether to acknowledge you as my mother or continue pretending you're nothing more than my employer." Anna's hands trembled as she poured tea. "I need time to think. Time is a luxury I don't have." "Then you should have told me years ago, the moment I arrived, the moment you brought me into this house under false pretenses. I was afraid." "Of what?" "That I would demand recognition, money, love." Anna set the teapot down with enough force to rattle the china. "I wanted none of those things. I only wanted honesty. And you couldn't even give me that." A knock at the door interrupted them. One of the maids, a young girl named Bridget, bobbed a curtsy. "Begging your pardon, my lady, but Lord Edmund requests Miss Burns' presence in the study." "Immediately," he says. Ice flooded Anna's veins. The Countess went pale. "Tell my brother-in-law that Miss Burn is attending to my needs and cannot be spared," Lady Catherine said, her voice sharp with authority. "He was quite insistent, my lady, said it was a matter of household business that couldn't wait." Anna and the Countess exchanged a long look. They both knew what this was. Edmund had found something, discovered something, was ready to confront her. "It's all right," Anna said quietly. "I'll go." "Anna, no. Let me come with you." "You're ill, my lady. You should rest." The formality was deliberate, a wall erected between them. "I can handle Lord Edmund." She left before the Countess could protest further, following Bridget through the corridors to the late Lord Kilmore's study, now Edmund's domain, whenever he visited the estate. Edmund stood behind the massive desk, hands clasped behind his back, looking every inch the lord of the manor despite having no actual claim to the title. He dismissed Bridget with a curt nod. "Close the door, Miss Byrne." Anna did so, her heart hammering. She'd encountered Edmund perhaps a dozen times in 5 years, always briefly, always formally. He'd never requested a private audience before. "You wanted to see me, my lord?" "Sit." He gestured to the chair across from the desk. When Anna hesitated, his voice hardened. That wasn't a request. She sat, folding her hands in her lap to hide their shaking. Edmund studied her for a long moment, his grey eyes so like the Countess's, so like her own, cold and calculating. "How old are you, Miss Byrne?" 23, my lord. "And you were born in—" "Early spring of 1850, my lord. The exact date is unknown." "Unknown? How convenient." Edmund moved to the window, his back to her. "Tell me about your parents. I was raised at St. Brigid's Orphanage in Dublin. I know nothing of my parents." "Nothing? The sisters never mentioned who left you there? Never gave you any information about your origins?" "They said my mother gave no name. It was common enough, I'm told." "Yes, common for unwed mothers. Shameful girls who couldn't keep their legs closed and needed to hide their bastards. Anna flinched at the crude language but kept her expression neutral. Edmund turned back to face her. I've been reviewing my late brother's papers. Interesting reading. Did you know that Lord Kilmore kept meticulous records of all household expenditures? Every penny accounted for, every payment documented. I wasn't aware, my lord. There are payments to St. Bridget's, substantial payments, made quarterly for 23 years. The amounts increased over time. Additional funds for education, for clothing, for special care of an unnamed ward. Edmund's smile was sharp as a blade. Can you imagine who that ward might have been? Anna said nothing. The payments stopped the month you were hired as my sister-in-law's companion. Coincidence, do you think? I wouldn't know, my lord. Don't play stupid with me, girl. You're many things, but stupid isn't one of them. Edmund moved closer, perching on the edge of the desk, looming over her. I also found letters. Correspondence between my sister-in-law and the Mother Superior at St. Bridget's. Updates on a child's progress. Assurances that the secret would be kept. Promises that when the time was right, the girl would be brought here. Anna's fingernails dug into her palms. What do you want from me? The truth. Are you my sister-in-law's bastard? The word hung in the air between them, ugly and brutal. Anna met his gaze steadily. You seem to have already decided I am. Why do you need confirmation from me? Because I want to hear you admit it. I want to see if you have the courage to acknowledge what you are. And what am I, my lord? A mistake, an embarrassment, a threat to this family's reputation, and my son's inheritance. Edmund stood, moving to a cabinet and withdrawing a wooden box. Catherine is dying. Consumption, though she hasn't had the decency to admit it to anyone but her doctor. When she dies, this estate and everything attached to it passes to my sons. That's the law, that's the natural order. I have no designs on the estate, don't you? He opened the box, revealing stacks of papers. I also found her updated will. She's leaving you £30,000, Anna, and this house. Not the lands, not the title. Those go to my boys as they should. But this house, and a fortune that should rightfully remain with the legitimate family. £30,000. Anna couldn't even conceive of such a sum. It was more than most people earned in a lifetime. I never asked for anything. You didn't have to. You simply existed, and that was enough for my sentimental sister-in-law to try to buy redemption for her sins. Edmund set the papers aside and withdrew something else from the box, a leather purse heavy with coins. I'm prepared to make you an offer, Miss Byrne. A generous offer, I'm listening. £5,000 cash, enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life if you're sensible. You take the money. You leave this house, you never return, and you never, ever acknowledge any connection to this family. You remain Anna Byrne, orphan, nothing more. Catherine's will becomes irrelevant because you're not here to contest it. My sons get everything as they should. Everyone's reputation remains intact. Anna stared at the purse. £5,000. Freedom. A future. The ability to go anywhere, be anyone, start over completely. And if I refuse? Edmund's expression hardened. Then I will make your life a living hell. I will expose Catherine's adultery and your illegitimacy to all of Dublin society. I will ensure that no respectable household will ever hire you. I will fight the will in court, drag your name, and hers, through the mud in every newspaper in Ireland. You think you know shame? You think you understand what it means to be unwanted? I will show you humiliation beyond anything you can imagine. You would destroy your own family's reputation to prevent me from inheriting. I would do whatever necessary to protect my son's future. Catherine brought this on herself with her weakness and poor judgment. You're just the unfortunate result. Anna stood slowly, her legs unsteady. May I have time to consider your offer? You have until tomorrow evening. After that, the offer expires, and we do this the hard way. Edmund pushed the purse across the desk toward her. Take it. Count it. Make sure I'm not cheating you. £5,000 for your silence and absence. It's more than generous for someone in your position. Anna didn't touch the money. If that's all, my lord, I should return to the Countess. She needs me. Does she? Or do you need her, need the fantasy that she's your mother and actually cares about you? Edmund's laugh was cruel. She kept you hidden for 23 years, girl. She watched you grow up in an orphanage rather than claim you. That's not love. That's cowardice. And now that she's dying, now that guilt is eating her alive, she wants to buy forgiveness with money and property. Don't mistake her fear of judgment for actual maternal affection. Each word was a dagger, and Edmund knew exactly where to strike. Anna felt tears threatening but refused to let them fall in front of him. "Tomorrow evening," Edmund repeated. "Choose wisely, Miss Byrne. This is the only kindness you'll get from me." Anna left the study on trembling legs. The corridor seemed to stretch endlessly, and she had to pause halfway back to the Countess's chambers, pressing her hand against the wall to steady herself. £5,000. Enough to leave. Enough to start over somewhere no one knew her, where she could be anyone she wanted to be. But it would mean abandoning the Countess, her mother, while she was dying. It would mean giving up any claim to her own history, her own blood. It would mean letting Edmund win, letting him erase her as if she'd never existed. "Anna?" She looked up to find Thomas approaching, concern etched on his face. "You're white as a ghost. What's happened? Was it Edmund? Did he—" "I can't talk about this." Anna tried to move past him, but he caught her arm gently. "Whatever he said to you, whatever he threatened, you don't understand." "You can't understand." She pulled away. "Please, Thomas, I need to be alone." "No." His voice was firm. "You've been alone your entire life. I'm not letting you face whatever this is by yourself." The kindness in his voice nearly undid her. Anna felt the tears she'd been fighting finally spill over. "He knows," she whispered, "about me, about who I am, and he's offered me money to disappear. £5,000 to leave and never come back." Thomas went very still. "Who you are?" "Anna. What are you talking about?" She shouldn't tell him. It would only make everything more complicated, more painful. But standing in that cold corridor with Edmund's threats echoing in her mind and the Countess's revelations still raw in her heart, Anna found she couldn't bear the weight of the secret alone any longer. "The Countess is my mother, Thomas. I'm her illegitimate daughter. She's been hiding me my entire life, and now Edmund has discovered the truth and wants me gone before she can leave me anything in her will." Thomas's expression cycled through shock, confusion, and finally understanding. "That's why she watches you like that. Why she hired you." "Dear God, Anna. Now you know. Now you understand why you should stay as far away from me as possible. I'm not just a companion. I'm a scandal, an embarrassment, a bastard who—" He kissed her. It was sudden and fierce and entirely inappropriate in the middle of the corridor where any servant could see. But Anna didn't care. She kissed him back desperately, clinging to him like a drowning woman to driftwood. When they finally broke apart, Thomas kept his hands on her face, his thumbs wiping away her tears. "Listen to me," he said intensely. "I don't care who your parents are or aren't. I don't care about legitimacy or scandal or any of it. I care about you, Anna, the woman I've come to know. Intelligent, brave, kind, despite every reason not to be. That's who you are to me. Thomas, if this comes out, if anyone discovers, then we'll face it together. But you can't let Edmund bully you into running away. You can't let him erase you. He's offering me freedom. He's offering you exile. There's a difference." Thomas took her hands in his. "What do you want, Anna? Not what Edmund wants. Not what the Countess wants. What do you want?" Anna had never been asked that question before. She'd spent her entire life being told who she should be, what she should want, how she should feel. But what did she actually want? "I want the truth," she said slowly. "All of it. Who my father was, why she gave me away, what she intended for me. I want to decide for myself what happens next, not have it dictated by Edmund's threats or the Countess's guilt." "Then that's what you'll do." Thomas squeezed her hands. "But you don't have to decide tonight. Edmund gave you until tomorrow evening. Take that time, think, and know that whatever you choose, I'm with you. You barely know me. I know enough. I know that you're the first person in years who's made me feel truly alive. That's enough for now." Footsteps echoed from the corridor above. They separated quickly, restoring proper distance. "Tomorrow," Thomas said quietly. "We'll figure this out tomorrow." He left before anyone could see them together. Anna stood alone in the corridor, her mind churning with impossible choices. She could take Edmund's money and leave. Start fresh somewhere far from Ireland, far from aristocratic secrets and dying mothers and tutors with honest eyes. She'd be comfortable, independent, free, but she'd never know the whole truth. She'd never hear her mother's full confession. She'd never understand who she really was or where she came from. And she'd lose Thomas before she'd even had a chance to discover what they might become. Anna returned to the Countess's chambers. Lady Catherine was still sitting by the window, tears streaming down her face. "He offered you money to leave, didn't he?" the Countess said without preamble. "Yes, how much?" £5,000. Lady Catherine closed her eyes. "That's Edmund. Always thinking money can solve everything. Buy your way out of scandal, purchase respectability, pay for silence. Is that what you did with me? Purchase silence from the sisters? I provided for you. There's a difference, is there?" Anna moved to stand by the window, looking out at the grey morning. "Tell me something, my lady. If you hadn't gotten ill, if Edmund hadn't found those letters, would you ever have told me the truth? Or would you have let me serve you until you died, never knowing I was arranging the hair and reading poetry to my own mother?" The Countess was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," she admitted finally. "I wanted to. God knows I wanted to, but I was afraid. Afraid you'd hate me, afraid of losing you, afraid of the scandal. Cowardice runs deep in my family, Anna. It's the one inheritance I wish I hadn't passed on to you. You didn't pass anything on to me, you gave me away. I gave you life when I could have ended the pregnancy. I gave you education when I could have left you to ignorance. I gave you everything except yourself." Hannah turned to face her. "That's what hurts the most. Not the money, not the secrets, not even the abandonment. It's that you were right there every single day for 5 years, and you couldn't bring yourself to claim me as your daughter, because claiming you would have destroyed you. Don't you see that? An acknowledged bastard of a countess, you would have been scorned, mocked, excluded from everything. As my companion, you at least had respect, position, a place in the world. As your daughter, I would have had a mother." The simple statement broke something in Lady Catherine. She began to weep, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her thin frame. Anna wanted to remain cold, wanted to keep her distance, but some instinct deeper than anger pulled her forward. She knelt beside the Countess's chair and let Lady Catherine gather her into an embrace, awkward and desperate, and 23 years too late. "I'm so sorry," the Countess whispered into Anna's hair. "I'm so sorry for all of it. For every wrong choice, every cowardly decision, every day I didn't tell you the truth. You deserved better than me." Anna let herself be held, let herself cry, let herself mourn for the mother-daughter relationship they'd never had and now never could, not fully, not the way normal families did. "Who was he?" Anna asked finally, pulling back to look at Lady Catherine. "My father. I need to know." The Countess's face crumpled. "I can't tell you. Not yet. He's a good man who made a mistake with me. Telling you would ruin him, and he doesn't deserve that. But I deserve to know where I come from. I know. And I'll tell you, I promise. Just give me a little more time. Let me speak to him first, prepare him. Please, Anna." Anna stood, exhaustion overwhelming her. "Tomorrow evening, Edmund wants my answer. He's given me until then to decide whether to take his money and leave. What are you going to tell him?" "I don't know yet." Anna moved toward the door. "But I need something from you first. I need you to tell me honestly what you want. Not what you think is best for me, not what will protect your reputation. What do you actually want?" The Countess met her eyes, and for the first time Anna saw complete honesty in that grey gaze so like her own. "I want more time with you. I want to know my daughter before I die. I want to leave you provided for, protected, acknowledged, even if only in my will. I want—" Her voice broke. "I want what I can never have. The 23 years I lost. But since I can't have that, I'll settle for whatever time remains. Even if it's only months. Even if it's only weeks." Anna nodded slowly. "Then I'll give you my answer tomorrow. But know this, whatever I decide, it won't be because of Edmund's threats or your guilt. It will be my choice, Mine alone. That's all I can ask for." Anna left the room, her decision still unmade but her path slightly clearer. She had one day to choose between £5,000 and freedom, or the truth and whatever painful consequences came with it. One day to decide who Anna Byrne would become. And as she walked through Kilmore House, this decaying estate full of secrets and ghosts, she realized that for the first time in her life, the choice was truly hers. That terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Anna spent the day in a fog of indecision. She went through her duties mechanically, supervising the maids, reviewing household accounts, responding to correspondence on the Countess's behalf. But her mind was elsewhere, cycling endlessly through impossible choices. £5,000, freedom, a new life, or the truth. Her mother. Whatever time remained. By afternoon, she found herself in the library again, seeking refuge among books that asked nothing of her. She was running her fingers along leather spines when Thomas found her. "I've been looking for you," he said, closing the door behind him. "The boys are at their riding lesson. We have an hour. Thomas, we shouldn't. Anyone could. I don't care." He crossed the room and took her hands. "Anna, I've been thinking about this all day, about you and Edmund and everything you're facing, and I have a proposal. Please don't offer me money or solutions. I'm drowning in both. Not money. Marriage." Anna's heart stopped. "What? Marry me. We'll leave here together. I have some savings, not much, but enough to get us started somewhere new. Cork, maybe, or even England. I can find work as a tutor anywhere, and you could do anything you wanted. Write, teach, simply exist without being anyone's servant or anyone's secret." It was a beautiful fantasy. Anna could almost see it. A small cottage somewhere, Thomas coming home from teaching young students, her with books and freedom, and a life that belonged to her alone. No secrets, no scandal, no dying mothers or threatening relatives. "That's very romantic," she said quietly, "and completely impractical." "Why?" "Because you're offering to sacrifice your career, your reputation, everything. For what? A woman you've known less than a week. A bastard with no fortune and more scandal attached to her than a dozen ordinary people. I'm offering because I—" Thomas stopped, searching for words. "Anna, I know this is sudden. I know it seems mad, but I've never felt this way about anyone. It's not just attraction or infatuation, it's recognition. As if I've been waiting my entire life for you to walk into that library and tell me about Irish legends. That's beautiful, Thomas. Truly. But it's not enough. Not enough for what? For me to abandon her while she's dying. For me to walk away without knowing the full truth about where I came from. For me to let Edmund win by default." Anna pulled her hands free, pacing to the window. "Don't you understand? If I run away now, even with you, even for love, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering who my father was, wondering what my mother wanted to tell me, wondering if I was a coward for choosing the easy path. There's nothing cowardly about choosing happiness. There is if happiness means abandoning the only person who ever claimed me as her own, however imperfectly." Thomas was quiet for a moment. "You've already decided, haven't you? You're going to stay." "I don't know. But I know I can't leave until I have answers. All of them. Then I'll stay too. Whatever you're facing, we'll face it together. You could lose your position. Edmund will make sure of it if he discovers. Let him. I don't care about this position. I care about you." A knock at the door interrupted them. They sprang apart as Mrs. Brennan entered, her expression sour. "Miss Byrne, the Countess is asking for you. She seems quite agitated." The housekeeper's gaze flickered between them with obvious disapproval. Mr. Ashford, the boys have returned from their lesson and are looking for you." They left separately, maintaining propriety, but Anna felt Thomas's presence like warmth at her back. The Countess was indeed agitated. She sat at her writing desk, papers scattered everywhere, her hands shaking as she tried to organize them. "Anna, thank God. I need your help. I'm trying to put everything in order before—" She trailed off, coughing. "Before what, my lady?" "Before I tell you everything. About your father. About why I made the choices I did. About what I want for you." Lady Catherine gestured to the papers. "These are legal documents. My will, yes, but also other things. Property deeds, bank account information, letters I've written to explain everything to people who'll need to know after I'm gone. Anna approached the desk slowly. Among the papers, she saw her own name written in the Countess's elegant script. Anna Catherine Byrne. You gave me your name. Catherine. It was all I could give you at the time. The Countess's eyes filled with tears. Sit with me, child. Please, I need to tell you everything before I lose my courage. Anna sat in the chair beside the desk. Outside, rain had begun to fall again, the eternal Irish rain that seemed to weep for all the sorrows these walls had witnessed. I was 17 when I married Lord Kilmore, Lady Catherine began. He was 43, a widower with no children, looking for a young wife to give him an heir. My family was minor nobility fallen on hard times. The match was practical, not romantic. I understood that. I accepted it. Anna listened in silence as her mother, the words still felt strange, continued. He was kind in his way, distant but not cruel. We lived separate lives in the same house. He had his parliamentary work, his clubs, his hunting. I had nothing. I was too young to be taken seriously by his peers' wives, too old to return to the carefree life I'd left behind. I existed in a strange limbo, neither child nor adult, neither servant nor mistress of my own life. That sounds terribly lonely. It was. And then 5 years into my marriage, I met him. Lady Catherine's expression softened with memory. Your father. He was visiting Dublin on business. A man of good family but no title, intelligent, passionate about his work. We met at a dinner party and I felt seen, truly seen for the first time in my life. Did Lord Kilmore know? No. We were discreet. We would meet when my husband was in London for Parliament sessions. It was wrong, I knew it was wrong, but I was so desperately lonely and he made me feel alive again. She twisted her hands together. It lasted 6 months. Just 6 months of stolen moments, secret letters, the kind of passion I'd read about in novels but never expected to experience. And then you discovered you were with child. Yes. I knew immediately it couldn't be Lord Kilmore's. We hadn't been intimate in over a year. He had no interest in me that way. So I knew. Lady Catherine's voice dropped to a whisper. I was terrified. If he discovered the truth, I would be ruined. Divorced, cast out, labelled an adulteress. And your father, his career, his family, everything would be destroyed. So I lied. What did you tell Lord Kilmore? That I was pregnant with his child. He was overjoyed. He'd wanted an heir desperately. I played the dutiful wife and he never questioned it. I went to our country estate, claiming the pregnancy was delicate and required rest. And there, in secret, with only a midwife I paid handsomely for her silence, I gave birth to you. Anna felt tears sliding down her face. And then you told him the baby died. Yes, I told him you were stillborn. I had the midwife prepare a tiny coffin with weights inside, and we buried it with all due ceremony. Lord Kilmore grieved, but he was an older man. He accepted it as God's will. And I took you to Dublin in the middle of the night and left you with the sisters at St. Bridget's, with money to ensure I was cared for, with everything I could give you without raising suspicion, education, proper clothing, medical care when needed. The sisters believed I was a wealthy benefactress supporting orphans. They never knew you were mine. Anna wiped at her tears angrily. And my father? Did he know about me? Lady Catherine was quiet for a long moment. He knew I was pregnant, but I told him I lost the baby. I couldn't bear to ruin his life along with mine, so I lied to everyone, to my husband, to your father, to you. I built a fortress of lies and lived inside it for 23 years. Does he know now? That I lived? No. He married, had legitimate children. He's built a good life. I couldn't destroy that. But you're willing to tell me who he is? The Countess stood, moving to a locked drawer in her desk. She withdrew a key from around her neck and opened it, removing a single letter. This is for you, to be opened after I die. It contains his name, his location, and a letter I've written explaining everything, for him and for you. If you choose to contact him after I'm gone, that's your decision. But I can't tell you while I'm alive. I can't face what that knowledge might do to all of us. Anna took the sealed letter, feeling its weight. Inside was her father's identity, the missing piece of her history. Why not tell me now? Why make me wait? Because I'm selfish. Because I want what little time I have left with you without the complication of him. Because I'm afraid you'll hate me even more once you know the whole truth. Lady Catherine returned to her chair, suddenly looking every one of her 43 years and more. I'm dying, Anna. Dr. Morrison gives me 3 months at most. The consumption is advanced. Soon I won't be able to hide it anymore. Edmund knows, Edmund suspects. But he doesn't know how little time remains. When he realizes... She trailed off, coughing into a handkerchief. There was blood again, more than before. Anna moved to help her, but the Countess waved her away. Tomorrow he wants your answer about his offer. What will you tell him? I was going to ask you the same thing. Anna held up the sealed letter. What do you want me to do? I want you to take what's yours. The money in my will, this house, your rightful inheritance. I want you to be provided for, protected, able to live independently, without bowing to any man's wishes. Lady Catherine's voice grew fierce. But I also want you to be happy. And if happiness means taking Edmund's money and leaving, starting fresh somewhere he can't reach you, then do that. Don't let my guilt trap you in a life you don't want. That's not an answer. Because there is no right answer, Anna. Only choices, each with their own costs. The Countess reached for her hand. But if you're asking what would bring me peace in my final months, it would be having you here, knowing you, being able to call you daughter, even if only in private, having the chance to be your mother, however imperfectly, for whatever time remains. Anna looked at their joined hands, similar in shape, similar in the delicate structure of fingers and wrists. Her mother's hands. The hands that had held her as an infant and then let her go. Tell me something, Anna said. All those years at St. Brigid's, did you ever visit? Did you ever watch me from a distance? Once a year, on your birthday, I would go to Dublin, wait outside the orphanage, and watch you play in the courtyard during recreation time. The sisters didn't know who I was. I was just another well-dressed lady passing by. Lady Catherine's tears flowed freely now. I watched you grow from a tiny child into a young woman. I saw you reading under trees, helping younger children, singing during chapel services. I memorized every detail because it was all I could have of you. Why didn't you ever speak to me? Because if I had, I would never have been able to leave you there. And leaving you there kept you safe from scandal, from Edmund's machinations, from the complicated mess of my life. She squeezed Anna's hand. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every year, every visit, walking away from you destroyed me a little more. But I thought I was doing what was best. Were you? I don't know. How can I know? I made the choices I made with the information and fears I had at the time. Were they right? Were they wrong? I'll never know what would have happened if I'd chosen differently. They sat in silence, hands joined, while rain drummed against the windows and the clock ticked away precious minutes of the Countess's remaining time. I need to think, Anna said finally, about all of this. About Edmund's offer, about what I want my future to look like. Of course, take tonight. Tomorrow we'll face whatever comes together. Anna stood to leave, still clutching the sealed letter. At the door she paused. May I ask you something? Anything. Do you regret it? Having me, I mean. If you could go back knowing all the pain and complication and lies, would you still choose to have me? Lady Catherine didn't hesitate. Yes. 1,000 times yes. You are the only purely good thing I've ever created in this world, Anna. The only thing I've done that matters. Everything else, my title, my position, my reputation, it's all empty. But you're real. You're mine. And I would choose you again and again, no matter the cost. It was what Anna needed to hear, even if it didn't make her choices any easier. She returned to her room and sat on her narrow bed, the sealed letter in her hands. Inside was her father's name, the final piece of the puzzle. But did she want to know? Did she want that complication added to everything else? A soft knock at her door. She opened it to find Thomas standing in the corridor, looking worried. I know I shouldn't be here, he said quietly, but I couldn't sleep without knowing you were all right. May I come in? Just for a moment. It was completely improper. If anyone saw him entering her room, they'd both be ruined. Anna stepped aside to let him in. They sat together on her bed, the only furniture besides a small dresser and washstand, maintaining a careful distance but drawing comfort from proximity. She told me everything, Anna said, about my father, about her choices, about why she gave me away. And I understand her better now. I still think she was wrong, that she should have told me years ago, but I understand the fear that drove her decisions. Thomas took her hand gently. What are you going to tell Edmund tomorrow? I'm going to refuse his offer. Anna, I know it's not the safe choice. I know it means scandal and legal battles and Edmund doing everything in his power to destroy us both. But I can't take his blood money and run away. I can't abandon her while she's dying. And I can't let him erase me from my own history. Then I'm staying too. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. You could lose everything. I could lose you. That matters more. Anna turned to face him fully. Thomas, you barely know me. This isn't some romantic novel where love conquers all. This is real life with real consequences. Edmund will make sure you never work in a respectable household again. Your family will be horrified. Your future will be. He kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. My future is wherever you are, he said against her lips. I've spent 30 years sleepwalking through life, doing what was expected, being who others wanted me to be. Then I met you, and I woke up. I'm not going back to sleep, Anna, not for Edmund, not for propriety, not for anything. They kissed again, deeper this time, and Anna felt something settle in her chest, a certainty she'd never experienced before. This was right. Thomas was right. Whatever storms were coming, they would weather them together. When he finally left her room, mindful of her reputation despite everything, Anna lay awake, the sealed letter beside her on the pillow. Tomorrow she would tell Edmund no. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight, for the first time in her life, Anna Byrne knew exactly who she was and what she wanted. She was the daughter of Lady Catherine Fitzgerald. She was the woman Thomas Ashford loved. She was someone with a past, a present, and, against all odds, a future. And she would fight for all of it. Outside, the rain continued its eternal song, washing clean the cliffs and gardens of Kilmore House, preparing the ground for whatever grew from the ruins of secrets finally exposed. Anna woke before dawn, her decision made. She dressed carefully in her best grey dress, the one with jet buttons that the Countess had given her last Christmas, and pinned her dark hair into a simple chignon. If she was going to face Edmund Fitzgerald and refuse his offer, she would do it with dignity. The house was still sleeping when she made her way to the Countess's chambers. Lady Catherine was awake, propped against pillows, her breathing laboured even in rest. Her nightgown was damp with perspiration, and her skin had taken on a translucent quality that spoke of approaching death more clearly than any doctor's diagnosis. "You're up early," the Countess said, her voice hoarse. "Couldn't sleep?" "I've made my decision about Edmund's offer." Anna poured water from the pitcher into the basin, wringing out a cloth to bathe her mother's face. "I'm going to refuse." Lady Catherine's eyes widened. "Anna, are you certain? £5,000. It's more than enough to start a new life. You could be free of all this. I could be running away from all this. There's a difference." Anna gently wiped the Countess's fevered brow. "I've spent 23 years not knowing who I was or where I came from. I won't spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I'd stayed, if I'd claimed what was mine, if I'd fought instead of fled. Edmund will make your life hell. He'll fight the will, drag both our names through every court and newspaper in Ireland. He'll paint you as a grasping bastard trying to steal from his legitimate children. Let him. The truth is the truth, regardless of how he dresses it up." Anna set the cloth aside and took her mother's hand. "You gave me away once to protect me from scandal. I won't let you do it again, not even from beyond the grave." Tears slipped down Lady Catherine's gaunt cheeks. "You're braver than I ever was." "No, I'm just tired of being afraid." Anna hesitated, then pulled the sealed letter from her pocket. "I want to know who he is. My father. I don't want to wait until you're dead to learn his name." The Countess's grip tightened on Anna's hand. "I was afraid you'd ask that. You said you'd tell me, you promised, I know, and I will, but first, you need to understand something about him, about the situation." Lady Catherine struggled to sit up straighter, and Anna quickly arranged pillows behind her back. "He was a good man, Anna. Is a good man. What happened between us wasn't some sordid affair with a scoundrel. It was two lonely people finding comfort in each other for a brief moment. Stop protecting him. Just tell me his name." Lady Catherine closed her eyes, gathering courage. When she opened them again, they were filled with resignation and sorrow. Dr. James Morrison. For a moment, Anna couldn't process the words. Dr. Morrison, the physician who'd been treating the Countess for months, the white-haired gentleman who visited weekly to check on Lady Catherine's declining health, the man who'd always been kind to Anna, who'd commented more than once on her intelligence and grace. "The doctor?" Anna's voice came out strangled. "Dr. Morrison is my father. He doesn't know you survived. He thinks, as I told him 23 years ago, that the baby was stillborn. He's treated me all these years, never knowing that his daughter was in the same room, helping me, caring for me." Fresh tears flowed down Lady Catherine's face. "I see the cruelty of it now, making him tend to me while you stood by, both of you ignorant of the truth. But I was afraid of what would happen if he knew, afraid of destroying his family, afraid of everything." Anna stood abruptly, needing to move, needing to process this revelation. Dr. Morrison, the kind older man who always had a warm smile for her, who'd once told her she had intelligent eyes and should consider studying medicine if she were a man. "He has children," Anna said slowly, remembering. "Legitimate children. A wife, 2 daughters and a son. All grown now, respectable, married into good families. His wife was a good woman. She died 2 years ago. Cancer. Does he still love you?" The question hung in the air between them. Lady Catherine looked away, staring out the window at the grey morning. "I don't know. We've never spoken of it. He's been my physician for 7 years, ever since Lord Kilmore died, and I returned to Ireland permanently. We're cordial, professional. Sometimes I catch him looking at me with something that might be memory, or might be my imagination. But we've never acknowledged what we once were to each other. He comes here every week. He'll be here this afternoon for your examination." Anna turned to face her mother. "I want to be there when you tell him." "Anna, no. Yes. He deserves to know the truth. I deserve to meet him knowing who he is. And you," Anna's voice hardened slightly, "you've kept this secret long enough. It's time for all of us to live with reality instead of comfortable lies." Before Lady Catherine could argue further, a sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Mrs. Brennan entered without waiting for permission, her expression grim. "Begging your pardon, my lady, but Lord Edmund insists on seeing Miss Byrne immediately. He's waiting in the study and says he won't be put off." Anna and the Countess exchanged glances. "It's not even 7 in the morning," Lady Catherine said. "What could possibly be so urgent?" "He didn't confide in me, my lady, but he seemed quite agitated. Tell him I'll be there momentarily." After Mrs. Brennan left, Anna turned to her mother. "He must have found something else, some other piece of evidence he thinks he can use against us. Then we'll face it together. Let me get dressed. I'm coming with you. You're too weak. I'm dying, not dead. And I'll be damned if I let Edmund intimidate my daughter while I'm still breathing." Lady Catherine's voice carried an echo of the steel that must have helped her survive 23 years of living with secrets. "Help me dress. Something elegant. If we're going to war with Edmund, I want to look like I'm winning." 20 minutes later, they descended to the study together. Lady Catherine in deep purple silk that made her look like a queen despite her illness, and Anna in her simple grey, standing straight and proud. Thomas was waiting in the corridor, clearly having been watching for them. "Anna, the Countess. I heard Edmund arrived early. I wanted to—" "Come with us," Anna said impulsively. "Whatever he has to say concerns all of us." Edmund was pacing the study like a caged animal when they entered. His face was flushed, his cravat askew, and scattered across the desk were more papers, old ledgers, letters, documents Anna couldn't identify from a distance. "Catherine, How kind of you to join us when summoned like a servant in your own home. His voice dripped sarcasm. And I see you've brought your companion. How appropriate. This is still my home, Edmund, whatever fantasies you've entertained about taking it over. Lady Catherine settled into a chair with regal composure. What's so urgent that it couldn't wait until a decent hour? This. Edmund slapped a leather-bound journal onto the desk. Lord Kilmore's private diary. I found it hidden behind a false panel in his bedroom. Your bedroom, Catherine. The bedroom you shared with him for 12 years. Anna's blood ran cold. A diary. If Lord Kilmore had written about his wife's pregnancy, about the stillborn child, about any suspicions he might have had, I fail to see how my late husband's personal writings concern you, Lady Catherine said, but her voice wavered slightly. Oh, they concern me very much, particularly the entries from spring 1850. Edmund opened the journal, flipping to a marked page. Shall I read it aloud? March 15th, 1850. Catherine has informed me she is with child. I should be overjoyed, yet I cannot help but wonder. We have not shared a bed in over a year, and she has shown no interest in resuming marital relations. Yet she claims this child is mine. I want to believe her. I want an heir. But doubt gnaws at me. Lady Catherine's face went white. Anna moved to stand behind her mother's chair, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. Edmund continued reading. April 20th, 1850. Catherine has gone to the country estate claiming the pregnancy requires rest. I offered to accompany her, but she insisted she needed solitude. The doubt grows stronger. Yet what can I do? Accuse my wife of adultery based on mere suspicion? Destroy my marriage, my family's name, my hopes for an heir? I choose to believe. I choose to trust. God help me. I choose blindness over truth. Enough, Lady Catherine whispered. But Edmund was merciless. August 3rd, 1850. Word has come from the country. The child was stillborn, a son, they say. Catherine is devastated. I should go to her, comfort her. But in my heart I wonder, was there ever truly a child at all? Or was this entire charade designed to hide some other secret? I will never know. I will bury my doubts along with the empty coffin we laid to rest yesterday. I will forgive my wife her trespasses, whatever they may be. But I will never forget that she lied to me. And I will ensure that whatever game she has played, whatever secret she keeps, it dies with us both. The silence that followed was crushing. Anna felt her mother trembling beneath her hand. He knew, Lady Catherine finally said, her voice barely audible. All these years I thought I'd fooled him. But he knew. He suspected, Edmund corrected. But he had no proof. No evidence of the affair. No knowledge of where you'd hidden your bastard. He chose to live with uncertainty rather than pursue the truth. Edmund's smile was cruel. But I'm not my brother. I don't choose blindness. I choose truth, no matter how ugly. What do you want, Edmund? Anna asked, keeping her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. What I've always wanted. This estate, whole and intact, for my legitimate sons. But now I have ammunition. I didn't have yesterday. He gestured to the journal. Lord Kilmore's private doubts about his wife's fidelity. His suspicions about the pregnancy. His knowledge that something was being hidden from him. Combined with the letters to St. Bridget's, the payments, the convenient timing of your hiring, this is enough to destroy any will Catherine has written leaving you property or money. The will is legal, Lady Catherine said, trying to summon strength. Witnessed and notarized. My husband's suspicions don't invalidate my right to dispose of my property as I see fit. No, but they provide grounds for me to contest it as the product of undue influence and guilty conscience. I can argue that you brought your illegitimate daughter into this house under false pretenses, that you've been grooming her to steal from my son's inheritance, that your entire relationship with her is based on fraud and deception. Edmund leaned forward. And I can drag both your names, and the good doctor's name, through every court in Ireland proving it. The good doctor? The question escaped Anna before she could stop it. Edmund's smile widened. Oh yes. I found other entries in my brother's diary, references to Dr. Morrison's frequent visits in 1849, always when Lord Kilmore was away in London. Speculation about whether his wife's sudden interest in medical philanthropy was quite as innocent as she claimed. My brother might have chosen to ignore his suspicions, but I won't. I'll expose Morrison's adultery, ruin his medical practice, destroy his family's reputation. All of it. You bastard, Anna breathed. No, Miss Byrne, that would be you. Edmund's eyes glittered with malicious satisfaction. So here's my revised offer. You take £2,000, reduced from £5,000 because you made me work harder for this, and you disappear. Catherine revokes her will, writes a new one leaving everything to my sons as it should be, and Dr. Morrison is spared the humiliation of having his youthful indiscretion exposed to all of Dublin society. Everyone wins. Except us, Anna said. Except you, Edmund agreed. But then, you should have taken my original offer when you had the chance. Thomas, who'd been silent until now, stepped forward. You're a monster. I'm a father protecting his children's inheritance. There's nothing monstrous about that. Edmund began gathering the papers. You have until this evening, as originally agreed, but now you know exactly what you're facing if you refuse. The diary, the scandal, Dr. Morrison's ruin, everything. Choose wisely, Miss Byrne. Some battles aren't worth fighting. He left the study, taking the journal with him. For a long moment, no one spoke. Lady Catherine sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. Anna stood behind her, hands shaking. Thomas looked between them, his expression murderous. He can't do this, Thomas finally said. Surely there are laws against what? Exposing the truth? Lady Catherine's laugh was bitter. Everything he said is accurate. I did have an affair. I did hide my pregnancy. I did bring Anna here under false pretenses. The fact that I had good reasons doesn't change the basic facts. Then we fight him, Anna said, moving to kneel in front of her mother. We tell the truth ourselves on our own terms. We expose the affair, acknowledge my parentage, let Dr. Morrison know he has a daughter. We take away Edmund's power by refusing to be ashamed. That's easy to say when it's not your reputation at stake. When it's not your father's medical practice that will be destroyed, your half-siblings who will be scandalized. Lady Catherine cupped Anna's face. I can't ask James to pay for my sins. I can't destroy what he's built because I was too cowardly to tell the truth 23 years ago. Then what do we do? Before Lady Catherine could answer, Mrs. Brennan appeared in the doorway again. Forgive the interruption, my lady, but Dr. Morrison has arrived for your weekly examination. He's waiting in your chambers. Anna and Lady Catherine locked eyes. It's time, Anna said quietly. No more secrets, no more lies. We tell him everything, and we let him decide what happens next. It's his life too, his daughter too, he deserves to know. Lady Catherine nodded slowly. You're right, God help me, you're right. She stood on unsteady legs, and both Anna and Thomas moved to support her. Will you come with me? When I tell him? Yes. They made their way upstairs, each step feeling like a march toward execution or liberation. Anna couldn't tell which. At the door to the Countess's chambers, Thomas squeezed Anna's hand. I'll wait out here. This is between the three of you. Anna nodded gratefully. Then she and her mother entered the room where Dr. James Morrison, physician, father, stranger, stood by the window reviewing his medical notes, completely unaware that his entire world was about to change. He turned when they entered, his kind face crinkling into a smile. Lady Kilmore. Miss Byrne. Good morning. Shall we begin the examination? James, Lady Catherine said, her voice trembling. Before we do, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you 23 years ago. Dr. Morrison set down his notes, concern flickering across his features. Catherine, what's wrong? Everything. Nothing. I don't even know anymore. She gestured to Anna. Do you remember the summer of 1850, when I told you I'd lost our baby? The colour drained from Dr. Morrison's face. His eyes darted to Anna, then back to Lady Catherine. What are you saying? I'm saying I lied, James. The baby didn't die, she lived. She's been alive all these years and I hid her from you, from everyone. I gave her to the sisters at St. Bridget's, and I've been watching her from afar ever since. Dr. Morrison's gaze fixed on Anna, really seeing her for the first time. His medical bag slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a dull thud. No, he whispered. No, that's not possible. I'm afraid it is, Anna said softly, stepping forward. I'm your daughter, Dr. Morrison, and I only learned the truth myself 2 days ago. The distinguished physician, a man who'd faced death and disease with calm professionalism for 4 decades, stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the young woman before him as if she were a ghost. Then slowly his knees buckled and he sank into the nearest chair, his face buried in his hands. And in that moment, Anna understood that Edmund's threats were the least of their problems. The weight of inheritance wasn't measured in pounds or property. It was measured in hearts broken, lives disrupted, and truths that once spoken could never be taken back. Dr. James Morrison remained in the chair for what felt like an eternity, his hands covering his face, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Anna stood frozen, unsure whether to approach or give him space. Lady Catherine hovered nearby, tears streaming down her own face. Finally, the doctor lowered his hands. His eyes, the same warm brown as Anna's, she realized with a jolt, were red-rimmed and haunted. 23 years, he said, his voice hoarse. You let me believe for 23 years that our child was dead. I thought it was for the best. For the best? Dr. Morrison stood abruptly, and Lady Catherine flinched. Catherine, I mourned that child. I mourned her every day. I named her in my prayers, even though you'd said she had no name. I blame myself for your pain, for the loss, for everything. And all that time she was alive? I'm sorry, James, I was terrified. Of what? Of me? Did you think so little of me that you believed I wouldn't have helped, wouldn't have found a way to protect our child? You had a wife, a family, a career. Lady Catherine's voice rose to match his. What could you have done? Acknowledged the bastard child of your affair with a married woman? Destroyed your marriage, your practice, your children's futures? I was protecting all of us. You were protecting yourself. Dr. Morrison's anger filled the room like a physical presence. You made decisions for everyone, for me, for our daughter, for your husband, without giving any of us a choice. You played God with our lives, Catherine, and now you have the audacity to ask for absolution. I'm not asking for absolution. I'm asking for understanding. Understanding. I've spent 7 years treating you, sitting beside your bed, discussing your health and the weather, and meaningless pleasantries while my daughter stood in the corner, arranging flowers and bringing you tea. How many times was she in the room with us, James? How many times did I look right at her and not know? Every time, Lady Catherine whispered. Every single visit. Dr. Morrison turned to Anna, his expression anguished. Did you know? When you looked at me, did you know I was your father? Not until this morning, Anna said quietly. She told me your name less than an hour ago. I've been as blind as you. He moved toward her slowly, as if approaching something fragile that might shatter. May I look at you? Properly? Anna nodded, her throat too tight for words. Dr. Morrison stood before her, his physician's eye cataloguing features with the precision of his profession. You have my eyes. My mother's chin. Your hair is darker than mine, but the texture is the same. How did I never see it? People see what they expect to see, Anna said. You expected a companion. I expected a kind doctor. Neither of us was looking for family. I have a daughter. The words seemed to crack something open inside him. All these years I've had a daughter and didn't know it. You have 3 children, Dr. Morrison, legitimate children who know you and love you. I'm the mistake. The secret. No. His hand rose as if to touch her face, then fell back to his side. You're not a mistake, you're my child. Whether I knew it or not, whether society acknowledges it or not, you're mine. The simple declaration undid Anna completely. She'd spent her entire life believing she was unwanted, unclaimed, a burden to be hidden. But here was her father, a man who'd just learned of her existence, already claiming her as his own. I don't know what to do, she admitted, tears spilling over. Edmund Fitzgerald found your diary entries, found letters, found everything. He's threatening to expose the affair, to ruin your practice, to destroy everyone unless I take money and disappear. And I don't know how to protect you both without erasing myself again. Dr. Morrison's expression hardened. Edmund Fitzgerald is trying to extort you. He's trying to protect his son's inheritance, Lady Catherine said wearily, which, by law, is his right. Everything I want to leave Anna, the house, £30,000, should go to Edmund's boys. They're Lord Kilmore's legitimate heirs. Lord Kilmore had no legitimate heirs. He died childless. Dr. Morrison's voice was sharp. Edmund's sons are his nephews, not his children. Catherine, as his widow, you have every right to dispose of your property as you see fit. But if Edmund contests the will, exposes the affair, makes it public that I brought my bastard into the house intending to leave her, then he exposes himself as a greedy man willing to destroy his own family's reputation for money. Dr. Morrison began pacing, his medical mind clearly organizing the problem like a diagnosis. Edmund is gambling that we'll choose silence over scandal. But what if we don't? What if we expose everything ourselves, on our own terms? That would destroy you, Anna protested. Your medical practice, your reputation, your children. My children are grown, married, with families of their own. They'll survive a scandal. He stopped pacing, turning to face her. But you've just learned who you are, where you came from. You deserve more than being paid to disappear like some shameful secret. You deserve to be acknowledged. James, think about what you're saying, Lady Catherine pleaded. Your practice serves half of Dublin's aristocracy. If they learn you fathered a child with a married patient, then they'll find another doctor. There are worse things than losing clients. He moved to stand before Anna again. I've made many mistakes in my life. The affair with your mother was one of them. Not because I regret loving her, but because I was married and should have shown more honor. But I won't compound that mistake by abandoning our daughter now. Not when I've finally found her. Anna couldn't speak. This man, this stranger who was her father, was willing to sacrifice everything he'd built to claim her publicly. The gift was overwhelming, humbling, and terrifying all at once. A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Thomas entered cautiously. Forgive me, but I thought you should know. Edmund is gathering the household staff in the drawing room. He's telling them about Anna. About the letters, the payments, everything. The servants will know within the hour, and by tomorrow all of Dublin will know. That bastard, Dr. Morrison growled. He's forcing our hand, making the scandal public so we can't control the narrative. Then we beat him to it, Anna said suddenly, a clarity settling over her. We don't wait for Edmund's version of events. We tell the truth ourselves, immediately. We control what story gets told. How? Lady Catherine asked. Anna turned to Thomas. Can you ride to Dublin, to the newspaper offices? Of course, what do you need? I need you to deliver a letter to the Irish Times, a full confession, written and signed by all three of us, Lady Catherine, Dr. Morrison, and myself. We acknowledge the affair, acknowledge my parentage, and we announce Lady Catherine's intention to leave me her property. We frame it not as a scandal, but as a mother finally claiming her daughter before it's too late. Hannah, that's madness, Lady Catherine breathed. The scandal will be enormous. The scandal is already enormous. Edmund is ensuring that. But this way, we tell the truth with dignity instead of having it dragged out of us. Anna looked between her parents. Her mother dying, her father still reeling from revelation. I've spent 23 years being nobody. I won't spend the rest of my life being Edmund's victim. Dr. Morrison nodded slowly. She's right. If we're going to be destroyed anyway, let's be destroyed on our own terms. What about your practice? Lady Catherine asked him. What about it? I'm 62 years old, Catherine. I've been considering retirement for years. If this forces my hand, so be it. I'd rather be a scandalous retired doctor than an honored coward. And your children, what will you tell them? The truth. That I made a mistake 23 years ago. That I loved someone I shouldn't have. And that I have a daughter I never knew existed. If they can't understand that, then I've failed as a father in more ways than one. Lady Catherine was weeping openly now. I never meant for any of this. I was just so afraid. We're all afraid, Anna said gently, taking her mother's hand. But fear has controlled us long enough. It's time to choose courage instead. What if Edmund still contests the will, even with the public confession? Let him try. We'll fight him in court if we must, but we'll do it openly, honestly, with nothing left to hide. Anna squeezed her mother's hand. You have months left, you said. Let's spend them living truthfully instead of hiding. For the first time since entering the room, Lady Catherine smiled through her tears. You're so much braver than I ever was. I had a good teacher. She taught me to survive alone. Now I'm choosing to be brave together. Dr. Morrison moved to a writing desk in the corner. Then let's write this confession before I lose my nerve. Thomas, you'll need to leave within the hour to reach Dublin before the evening edition goes to press. They spent the next 30 minutes crafting a letter that was honest, direct and, as much as possible, dignified. Dr. Morrison wrote in his precise medical hand, "To the citizens of Dublin, we write to you in a spirit of honesty and contrition, to acknowledge truths that have been hidden too long. 23 years ago, I, Dr. James Morrison, engaged in an adulterous affair with Lady Catherine Fitzgerald, then wife of the late Lord Kilmore. This relationship, brief though it was, resulted in the birth of a daughter in the autumn of 1850. I was told the child was stillborn, and I have lived with that grief for over 2 decades. It is only now, as Lady Catherine approaches the end of her life, that I have learned the truth. Our daughter survived and has been in her mother's care, raised at St. Brigid's Orphanage and later brought to Kilmore House as a companion. We acknowledge the pain our actions caused to innocent parties, particularly the late Lord Kilmore, who deserved better from both his wife and his physician. We acknowledge that our choices were born of weakness, fear and selfishness. However, we will not allow our daughter, Miss Anna Byrne, to bear the shame of our mistakes. She is blameless in this matter, having learned of her parentage only recently. Lady Catherine's intention to leave property to Miss Byrne is not fraud or manipulation, but a mother's attempt to provide for a child she was too afraid to claim openly during her lifetime. We offer no excuses for our behavior. We ask no forgiveness from those we have wronged. We simply ask that Miss Byrne be allowed to inherit what her mother wishes to leave her, and that she be judged on her own character rather than the circumstances of her birth. We publish this confession freely, without coercion, in order to control our own narrative and to spare Miss Byrne the indignity of having her story told by those with malicious intent. Signed, Dr. James Morrison, Lady Catherine Fitzgerald, Miss Anna Catherine Byrne. Anna read it through twice, her heart pounding. This letter would change everything. There would be no going back, no hiding, no pretending. By tomorrow, all of Dublin would know who she was and how she came to be. "Are we really doing this?" she asked quietly. Lady Catherine signed her name with a trembling hand. "We're really doing this." Dr. Morrison signed next, his signature bold and clear. Then he handed the pen to Anna. She stared at the blank space beside her typed name, Miss Anna Catherine Byrne, her mother's name included, finally acknowledged. Once she signed, she would be binding herself to this truth, to these people, to whatever consequences followed. She thought of Edmund's offer, £2,000 and anonymity, safety and silence. Then she thought of Thomas waiting in the corridor, of her mother's tears, of her father's willingness to sacrifice his reputation, of the life she could build if she stopped being afraid. Anna signed her name. Thomas took the letter and rode for Dublin immediately, promising to return by nightfall, with confirmation that it had been delivered to the newspaper offices. After he left, a strange calm settled over the three of them, the calm of irrevocable decisions made. "Edmund will be apoplectic," Lady Catherine said, almost laughing. "He'll realize what we've done, and know that his threats are meaningless now." "Good," Dr. Morrison said firmly. "Let him rage. He has no power over us anymore." A commotion erupted from downstairs, shouting, the sound of something breaking, Edmund's voice bellowing for his sister-in-law. They'd run out of time. Edmund burst into the room without knocking, his face purple with fury. "What have you done?" "The footman says Thomas Ashford just rode off toward Dublin with urgent correspondence. What did you send?" "The truth," Anna said calmly. "A full confession to the Irish Times. By tomorrow morning all of Dublin will know everything. The affair, my parentage, mother's will. Your threats are worthless now, Lord Edmund. We've already exposed ourselves." For a moment Edmund seemed unable to process the information. Then his face contorted with rage. "You stupid, stupid girl! You've destroyed all of us. The family name, the reputation, everything." "You were going to destroy it anyway," Lady Catherine said wearily. "At least this way we control the narrative." "Control? You call this control? This is disaster. My sons will be humiliated. The estate will be dragged through the courts, and you," he jabbed a finger at Anna, "you'll get nothing anyway. I'll fight that will until my dying breath." "Then fight it," Dr. Morrison said. stepping between Edmund and Anna. "Spend your fortune on lawyers and court fees. Drag your own family name through the mud for years, see if I care. But you will not intimidate my daughter. Your daughter. Your bastard, you mean?" "My daughter," Dr. Morrison repeated firmly, "and if you threaten her again, you'll answer to me." Edmund's laugh was bitter. The disgraced doctor and the dying adulteress. What a formidable alliance. You've ruined yourselves for nothing. That can still be contested, still be overturned. Anna will still end up with nothing. "Perhaps," Anna said quietly, "but I'll end up with something you'll never have, Lord Edmund. I'll have parents who claim me, who chose truth over comfort, who loved me enough to sacrifice everything else. Can your sons say the same of you?" The question struck home. Edmund's face paled, and for just a moment Anna saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt, perhaps, or the recognition that his children would read tomorrow's newspaper and wonder what kind of man their father truly was. "You'll regret this," he said finally. "All of you." "I suspect we will," Lady Catherine agreed, "but we'll regret it together, which is more than we had before." Edmund left without another word. They heard him shouting for his carriage, his voice echoing through Kilmore House one last time, before the sound of hooves faded into the distance. Then there was silence. Lady Catherine collapsed back against her pillows, exhausted. Dr. Morrison moved to examine her with professional efficiency, though Anna noticed his hands trembled slightly. "Your fever is worse," he said quietly. "Catherine, you need rest. Real rest, not these dramatics. I'll rest when I'm dead, James, which by your own estimation should be quite soon." She managed a weak smile. "Besides, I've just publicly acknowledged my bastard daughter and confessed to adultery with my doctor. I think I'm entitled to a bit of drama." Despite everything, Anna laughed. Her mother, her impossible, infuriating, brave mother, could still find humor even as her world collapsed. Dr. Morrison prepared a sedative, and Anna helped her mother drink it. Within minutes, Lady Catherine's eyes were drooping. "Stay," she murmured, reaching for Anna's hand. "Both of you. I don't want to wake up alone. We'll be here," Anna promised. They sat vigil as Lady Catherine slipped into medicated sleep, Anna on one side of the bed, Dr. Morrison on the other. Father and daughter, meeting for the first time, watching over the woman who'd kept them apart and now brought them together. "I have so many questions," Dr. Morrison said quietly. "About you, your childhood, your life. 23 years to catch up on." "We have time," Anna said. "However much Mother has left, we'll use it to know each other." "And after she's gone, what will you do?" Anna thought of Thomas riding hard toward Dublin with their confession, of the scandal about to break, of the uncertain future ahead. "I don't know. Fight Edmund in court, probably. Try to claim Mother's inheritance. Build a life somehow." She looked at her father across the sleeping form of her mother. "What will you do? Support my daughter, in whatever way she'll let me." Dr. Morrison's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I've missed 23 years. I won't miss another day if I can help it." They sat together in comfortable silence as the afternoon faded to evening. When Thomas finally returned from Dublin, confirmation in hand that the letter would run in tomorrow's morning edition, he found them still there. 3 people bound by blood and secrets and love too long denied. "It's done," Thomas said simply. "By dawn, everyone will know." "Good," Anna said, rising to meet him. "Let them know. Let them judge. Let them gossip. We've chosen truth, and we'll live with whatever comes next." Thomas took her hand. "Together?" "Together." Outside, the sun was setting over the Atlantic, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Tomorrow would bring scandal, legal battles, social ruin. But tonight, in this quiet room, Anna felt something she'd never experienced before. She felt like she belonged. She had a mother, a father, and a man who loved her enough to stand beside her through whatever storms were coming. For a girl who'd spent 23 years as nobody, it was everything. The dawn arrived with unusual clarity. No rain, no fog, just pale golden light spilling across the Irish coast, as if nature itself wanted to witness what would unfold. Anna woke in the chair beside her mother's bed, her neck stiff from sleeping upright. Dr. Morrison had left sometime in the night to prepare his own household for the scandal, promising to return before noon. Lady Catherine was already awake, propped against pillows, staring at the window with an expression of profound peace. "Good morning, daughter," she said softly, testing the word aloud. "How strange that feels. How wonderful." "Good morning, mother." Anna rose to pour water for washing. "How are you feeling?" Like a woman who's finally told the truth after 23 years of lying. "It's remarkably freeing." Lady Catherine coughed, a wet, rattling sound, but waved away Anna's concern. "Don't fuss, I'm dying, remember. A cough is the least of my problems. You're also impossible, remember. That seems to be thriving." They smiled at each other, the easy intimacy of family finally replacing the careful distance of employer and servant. Anna helped her mother dress in a simple morning gown of soft blue wool, arranged her hair, and brought breakfast that Lady Catherine pushed around her plate without eating. "The newspaper will be here soon," Anna said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Are you ready?" "No, but I don't think one ever is ready to read about one's own scandal in print." Lady Catherine set down her teacup. "Anna, whatever happens today, whatever the newspaper says, whatever reactions we receive, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you, of the woman you've become despite everything I failed to give you. You're braver, stronger, more principled than I ever was. I had to be. You didn't give me the luxury of weakness." "No, I suppose I didn't." Lady Catherine reached for Anna's hand. "But I gave you life. And in the end, that's the only thing that matters." Mrs. Brennan arrived with the Morning Post and newspapers, her expression carefully neutral, though Anna could see the curiosity burning in her eyes. The servants knew something momentous had happened. Edmund's rage yesterday had ensured that. But they didn't yet know the details. They would now. Anna unfolded the Irish Times with trembling fingers. There on page 3 was their letter, published in full under the headline, "Countess confesses, hidden daughter revealed after 23 years." She read it aloud to her mother, her voice growing stronger with each paragraph. The newspaper had published their confession verbatim, without editorial comment or embellishment. Just the simple, devastating truth. "Well," Lady Catherine said when Anna finished. "That's done then. No taking it back now. Do you want to take it back? Not even for a moment." Her mother's smile was tremulous but genuine. "Whatever comes next, at least the lying is over." What came next arrived within the hour, a flood of responses that Mrs. Brennan brought up in batches, her disapproval evident in every rigid line of her posture. Some letters were venomous. Lady Ashworth, a pillar of Dublin society, wrote 3 pages detailing the moral degradation of modern aristocracy and demanding Lady Catherine's immediate expulsion from all respectable social circles. Lord Pemberton, one of Dr. Morrison's long-time patients, sent a curt note terminating their professional relationship and suggesting the doctor retire before he disgraced himself further. But others, unexpected ones, were kind. Mrs. Delaney, a young widow, wrote, "I too bore a child out of wedlock and was forced to give her away. Your courage in claiming your daughter gives me hope that perhaps someday I might do the same." Father O'Brien from St. Brigid's sent a brief note. "We always wondered about our special girl. Now we understand. May God bless you all." And from Dr. Morrison's eldest daughter, Margaret, came a letter that made Anna weep. "I have a sister. This is shocking news but not unwelcome. When you're ready, I would like to meet her. Father says you're brave and intelligent. Those are the qualities I value in family." By noon, when Dr. Morrison returned with Thomas in tow, Kilmore House had received over 30 letters, roughly half condemning and half cautiously supportive. "The medical board has requested a meeting," Dr. Morrison reported, settling into a chair in Lady Catherine's sitting room. "They'll likely recommend I retire. I've already written my letter of resignation." "James, no," Lady Catherine protested. "It's fine, Catherine, truly. I'm tired of bleeding the wealthy and pretending it's medicine. I've been considering a clinic for the poor anyway. Perhaps this scandal will give me the freedom to finally do it." He turned to Anna. "With my daughter's help, if she's willing." Anna stared at him. "You want me to work with you?" "Why not? You're intelligent, well-read, compassionate. I could teach you practical nursing, dispensary management, how to treat common ailments. It's not proper medicine, they don't allow women in medical school yet, but it's meaningful work. The offer was staggering. A purpose, a future, a father who wanted her involved in his life. I'd be honored, Anna managed. Thomas cleared his throat. Speaking of the future, I should mention that I've received my own letter this morning. From Lord Edmund. He's terminated my employment effective immediately and ensured that I'm blacklisted from every respectable tutoring position in Ireland. Thomas, I'm so sorry, Anna began, but he held up a hand. Don't be. It was worth it. Besides, I've been thinking. He glanced at Dr. Morrison. If you're serious about this clinic for the poor, you'll need someone to manage the administrative side. I'm educated, organized, and newly unemployed. I could be useful. Dr. Morrison's face lit up. A clinic manager. Yes, that would be invaluable. Can you start immediately? I can start today if needed. Anna felt something warm unfurl in her chest. Her father and the man she loved working together, building something meaningful from the ruins of scandal. What about the will? Lady Catherine asked. Has Edmund made his move yet? As if summoned by her words, Mrs. Brennan appeared with another letter, this one bearing Edmund's seal. Anna opened it and read aloud. Catherine, your pathetic public confession changes nothing. My solicitor is filing a formal contest of your will this afternoon. We will argue undue influence, fraud, and mental incapacity due to your illness. Miss Byrne will not see a penny of what you've tried to steal from my sons. You've destroyed the Fitzgerald name for nothing. Edmund charming as ever, Lady Catherine said dryly. Anna, you understand what this means? Even with the public acknowledgement, even with everything we've done, you may still get nothing. The courts favour legitimate heirs. Edmund has every legal advantage. I understand. But I'm not doing this for money anymore. Anna folded the letter carefully. I'm doing it because it's right, because you wanted to leave me something and I won't let Edmund intimidate us out of honouring your wishes. Then we fight, Dr. Morrison said firmly. I have savings. I'll hire the best barrister in Dublin. We'll fight Edmund in every court in Ireland if we have to. That could take years, Lady Catherine said quietly. I don't have years. The truth settled over them like falling snow, cold, inevitable, final. Lady Catherine was dying. Whatever legal battles followed, she wouldn't live to see their conclusion. Then we make the time we have count, Anna said, moving to sit on the bed beside her mother. We stop worrying about Edmund and wills and scandal. We spend your remaining months being a family. Isn't that what you wanted? Lady Catherine's eyes filled with tears. Yes, that's all I've ever wanted. And so they did. The next 3 months were a strange, bittersweet gift. Lady Catherine's health declined steadily, the consumption spreading through her lungs, stealing her breath, her strength, her time. But within that decline, something beautiful bloomed. Hannah moved into the room adjoining her mother's, and they spent hours together each day. Lady Catherine told stories of her own childhood, of the young woman she'd been before marriage, and duty stole her choices. She taught Anna about the Fitzgerald family history, about managing estates and investments, about all the things a daughter should know. Dr. Morrison visited daily, ostensibly as physician but actually as father. He brought medical texts for Anna to study and shared stories of his own children, Anna's half-siblings. 2 of them, Margaret and William, even visited Kilmore House to meet their newfound sister. The initial awkwardness gave way to cautious friendship, and Anna discovered the strange joy of having siblings who acknowledged her. Thomas remained at Kilmore House despite his dismissal, working with Dr. Morrison to plan the free clinic they would open in Dublin once Lady Catherine passed. He and Anna stole moments together, walks along the cliffs, quiet conversations in the library, stolen kisses in shadowy corridors. They made no formal promises, no official engagement, but everyone understood they were building toward a future together. Edmund's legal challenges proceeded through the courts with predictable ruthlessness. His lawyers argued that Lady Catherine was mentally incompetent, that Anna had manipulated a dying woman, that the entire acknowledgement was a fraud designed to steal from legitimate heirs. Dr. Morrison hired an excellent barrister who countered every argument. They had the public confession, witnesses to Lady Catherine's sound mind, and the undeniable facts of Anna's parentage. The case was strong, but the outcome remained uncertain. "It doesn't matter," Lady Catherine said one evening in late January, her voice barely a whisper. She'd been bedridden for weeks now, too weak to stand, her breathing laboured even at rest. "Win or lose the legal battle, you have what matters, Anna. You have family, you have love, you have a future." Anna sat beside her mother's bed, holding her hand. Outside, snow was falling, rare for the Irish coast, beautiful and melancholy. "I wish we'd had more time," Anna said quietly. 23 years of not knowing you, and now only months to make up for it. We have a lifetime, child, just compressed into a very short space." Lady Catherine's smile was weak but genuine. "I've watched you every single day of your life, from afar, yes, but I was always watching. And these last months, having you here, being able to call you daughter, it's more than I ever dreamed I'd have." Dr. Morrison sat on the other side of the bed, monitoring his patient's breathing with professional detachment, while his eyes betrayed profound grief. He'd been there almost constantly these last weeks, his medical practice abandoned, his sole focus on making Lady Catherine comfortable. Thomas stood by the window, keeping respectful distance but present nonetheless. He'd become part of their small family unit, the man who would care for Anna when her mother was gone, the partner in the clinic venture, the steady presence through upheaval. "James," Lady Catherine said, turning to the doctor, "promise me something. Anything. Take care of our girl. Not financially, she can take care of herself, but emotionally. Be the father you never got to be. Make up for my failures. You didn't fail her, Catherine. You gave her life, education, strength. You gave her more than you think. I gave her away, but I'm giving her back now, to you, to herself, to the future." Lady Catherine's breathing became more laboured. "Anna, come closer." Anna leaned in, tears streaming freely. "You asked me once if I regretted having you. I want you to remember my answer. You are the best thing I ever did, the only purely good choice I made in my entire life. Don't ever doubt that you were wanted, loved, precious, even when I couldn't show it properly." "I know, Mama." The word slipped out naturally, and Lady Catherine's face crumpled with joy. "Say it again." "Mama. I love you, Mama. I love you too, my darling girl, my Anna, my daughter." Those were the last words Lady Catherine Fitzgerald spoke. She slipped into unconsciousness shortly after, her breathing growing shallower through the night. Anna and Dr. Morrison kept vigil on either side of her bed, while Thomas waited in the adjoining room. Just before dawn, as the first grey light touched the windows, Lady Catherine took one final shallow breath and released it slowly. Then silence. Dr. Morrison checked for a pulse with shaking hands, then gently closed his patient's eyes. "She's gone." Anna felt the grief crash over her like a wave. She'd only truly known her mother for 3 months, but the loss felt enormous. All the years they'd missed, all the conversations they'd never have, all the moments stolen by fear and secrecy. Thomas entered quietly and placed a hand on her shoulder. Dr. Morrison came around the bed to embrace his daughter, their first real embrace, and they stood together, mourning the woman who'd kept them apart and finally brought them together. Lady Catherine's funeral was surprisingly well attended despite the scandal. Many came out of respect for the Fitzgerald name, others out of morbid curiosity, but some, Anna was touched to discover, came to support her. Mrs. Delaney, the young widow who'd written in support, Father O'Brien from St. Bridget's, several of Dr. Morrison's patients who'd refused to abandon him despite the revelations. Edmund attended with his sons, sitting stiffly in the front pew and glaring at Anna throughout the service. His legal challenge was still pending, the courts moving with typical slowness. The will reading occurred the following week. Edmund's lawyers contested every clause, every bequest, every word, but Lady Catherine had been thorough. She'd had multiple witnesses attest to her mental competency. She'd written detailed explanations of her wishes. She'd made her intentions crystal clear. The judge, after hearing arguments from both sides, ruled in Anna's favor, Kilmore House and £30,000 would go to Miss Anna Catherine Byrne, acknowledged daughter of the late Lady Catherine Fitzgerald. Edmund's sons would receive the title lands and remaining Fitzgerald properties, as was proper for the legitimate heirs. But the house where Anna was conceived, born in secret, and finally claimed, that would be hers. Edmund stormed from the courtroom in fury, vowing appeals that everyone knew would fail. His reputation had been damaged by the very scandal he'd tried to weaponize, his sons embarrassed by their father's greed. Anna accepted the inheritance with quiet dignity, already knowing what she would do with it. 6 months after Lady Catherine's death, Kilmore House was transformed. The decaying estate became the Morrison Clinic, named for Dr. James Morrison, who'd sacrificed his society practice to serve the poor. The grand drawing room became a waiting area. The library became Dr. Morrison's office. The former servants' quarters became examination rooms. Anna managed the clinic alongside her father, learning practical medicine and discovering a talent for both administration and patient care. Thomas handled finances and organization, his education making him invaluable. They served Dublin's poorest residents, those who couldn't afford traditional doctors, who'd been turned away from hospitals, who suffered in silence. The work was exhausting, often heartbreaking, but deeply meaningful. Margaret Morrison, now Margaret Morrison Byrne, having insisted on adding her half-sister's name to her own, volunteered twice weekly, teaching literacy to patients waiting for treatment. And late one evening in autumn, as Anna was closing the clinic for the day, Thomas found her in what had been her mother's bedroom, now a supply closet, but still holding memories. "Anna," he said quietly, "I know we've never formally discussed the future. I know everything has been complicated and you've been grieving and building this clinic, but I need to ask you something." He knelt before her, producing a simple gold band, nothing fancy, but honest and real. "Will you marry me? Not because scandal forces us together, not because it's practical or expected, but because I love you, because you're the bravest, most principled person I've ever known, because I want to spend every day of my life working beside you, building something meaningful, being your partner in all things." Anna looked at the man who'd stood beside her through scandal, legal battles, grief and transformation, who'd sacrificed his career to support her dreams, who'd never once wavered in his commitment. "Yes," she said simply, "yes, I'll marry you." They wed in the small chapel at St. Bridget's, the orphanage where Anna had been raised. Father O'Brien performed the ceremony. Dr. Morrison walked his daughter down the aisle with tears in his eyes. Margaret and William stood as witnesses. The sisters who'd educated Anna wept with joy. It wasn't a society wedding. There were no titled guests, no elaborate reception, no mention in the social columns. But it was real, honest, and filled with love. 5 years later, Anna stood in the garden of the Morrison Clinic, watching her father play with his granddaughter, 3-year-old Catherine Morrison Ashford, named for the grandmother she'd never meet. Dr. Morrison was 70 now, semi-retired but still consulting on difficult cases, his reputation rebuilt through years of selfless service. Thomas came out to join her, wrapping an arm around her waist. Their son, 2-year-old James, toddled after his grandfather with determined steps. "The clinic expansion is complete," Thomas reported. "We can accommodate 50 more patients per week now. Mother would be proud. All of this, built from what she left us. She'd be proud of you. Of the woman you've become, the family you've built, the lives you've touched." Anna thought of her mother often. The letters Lady Catherine had left, one for each year until Anna turned 30, still arrived annually, pre-arranged with the family solicitor. Each contained memories, advice, love expressed in words the Countess hadn't been able to speak during her lifetime. Edmund had died 2 years ago, bitter to the end, his relationship with his sons damaged by his greed. His boys, now young men, had reached out to Anna tentatively, apologizing for their father's behavior. She'd welcomed them, offering the grace their father had never shown. Dr. Morrison's other children had become true siblings, Margaret especially, who'd become Anna's closest friend and confidant. And Thomas remained her constant partner. In the clinic, in marriage, in parenthood, they'd built a life based on truth, service, and love. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd taken Edmund's money?" Thomas asked. "If you'd chosen the easy path? Anna watched her children playing with their grandfather, a family built from scandal and secrets, now thriving in truth and light. "No," she said simply, "I don't wonder at all." Because she'd learned something her mother had tried to teach her in those final months. Love didn't require perfection. It didn't require ideal circumstances or unblemished pedigree. It simply required truth, courage, and the willingness to claim what was yours, even when the world said you shouldn't. Lady Catherine had spent 23 years loving Anna from a distance, afraid to claim her daughter openly. But in the end, she'd chosen courage over comfort, truth over secrets. And Anna had inherited more than a house or a fortune. She'd inherited the knowledge that she was wanted, loved, claimed. That legacy, silent love finally spoken, painful truths finally acknowledged, family finally formed, was worth more than any scandal, any judgment, any price she'd had to pay. As the sun set over Dublin and her family gathered for dinner, Anna silently thanked the woman who'd given her life twice, once at birth and once in death, when she'd finally had the courage to call Anna daughter. Some loves took a lifetime to speak, but they were no less real for their silence, and when they were finally voiced, however late, however imperfect, they changed everything. The Morrison Clinic still stands in Dublin today, a testament to a family built not from conventional propriety, but from the courage to acknowledge uncomfortable truths. What began as scandal became legacy, a reminder that parenthood is defined not by the circumstances of birth, but by the choice to claim and love one's children, even when the world offers easier alternatives. Anna's story teaches us that inheritance comes in many forms. She received money and property, yes, but more importantly, she inherited her mother's redemption, her father's integrity, and the knowledge that she was worthy of being claimed, acknowledged, and loved. Some families are built in secrecy, but the strongest ones are forged when truth finally breaks free. What would you have done in Anna's place? Would you have taken Edmund's money and disappeared? Or would you have fought for your right to be acknowledged? The choice between safety and truth is one we all face in different ways. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply exist openly, refusing to hide who we are. If this story moved you, if you felt Anna's pain and triumph, if you believe that love, however imperfect, deserves to be acknowledged, then please subscribe to this channel. Help us share stories about courage, redemption, and the families we build when we choose honesty over comfort. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Was Lady Catherine a coward or a victim of her time? Did she make the right choice in the end? Let's discuss in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale of Victorian aristocracy, secrets, and a daughter's fight to be claimed, please give this video a like. Your support helps us continue creating these deeply emotional stories that remind us all we are worthy of being loved, acknowledged, and claimed exactly as we are. Thank you for spending this time with Anna, Catherine, and the family they built from the ruins of secrets. May we all have the courage to live truthfully, love openly, and claim what is rightfully ours. Until next time.